Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 368 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. What is up, everybody? We had some fun stuff on the NHL in the past week. Feels good to say that. We'll get to it in a little bit, including the rare delayed penalty goal. Haven't seen one of those in, I feel like, decades, but let's check in with the fellas first. Mikey G, you battling flu symptoms or what, like the rest of the gang?
No, I'm feeling pretty good, RA. I'm less than a month away from Chiclets Cup, so I'm feeling pretty great, to be honest with you. I'm booking hotels, booking parties, and, I just keep getting texts from Merles, who seems to be pretty upset right now that
fuck
Biz
off. I'm not
just
talking
won't put him on his team.
Biz. This is fucking disgusting.
Wow.
Wait,
So,
introduce the rest of the guys, and then I'll say my piece
First
on
off,
Merles.
all
I
right,
want to
who
stay
else
in a
has the
good
flu
fucking
besides
mood.
you?
Well, I probably could have worded it, but it bounced around from all of us. We've all
It's
all
called
had
the hangover,
flu symptoms.
all right?
No, but listen,
Oh,
bro, I tell
yeah.
you, I wish
You
you
got
believe
the
me.
hangover virus.
That's called being hung titties.
Yeah, there's
I
a
went to-
fucking. We're gonna get you a needle for that too, buddy. Fucking.
I went to the jungles of Colombia, the fucking wilds of Sudbury, Ontario. Then I go to Minnesota, and I come back fucking hacking up lungs left and right. But
welcome to my
feeling a
work.
lot
Hey,
better.
welcome to my work week.
All right, well, Biz, we'll do our intros. What's going on with you, buddy?
Me,
How was your weekend?
I usually
Well,
like going last out of the gate.
Wit Dog's always in the 3-hole.
Am I? I didn't even know there was an order.
Oh, I always G Biz Wit. That's the
That
way I
means
always
G
done
was
it. But
first,
it,
then
that
it's
means-
always
yeah,
I thought
wait,
me or Biz. I
that
don't
means
know.
that
Whatever
you
it is.
usually talk.
What's up,
before I
listeners?
intro you.
That means there isn't an order. Guaranteed it flip flops as every pod. But no, good to see you boys. Oh my goodness, jam packed hockey week. A lot of great storylines. A lot of great things happening. Aside from that, though, I couldn't agree more. Now we're past Minnesota, Vegas. It's going to be a great all-star weekend. We got something planned for the Friday night. So normally we'd do the big shaker on the Thursday because we start the tournament Thursday, and then we got kind of like the more important games, semis and the finals on the Friday. Well, fuck, we got to learn from our mistakes. Like, we got absolutely obliterated on the in-between night in Detroit. I mean, I couldn't even fucking spell my name the next morning. And then you guys heard us on the podcast. And then we ended up doing a sandbagger, which we dummied those fucking young guys, keep the change. But we're going to do the big shaker on the Friday. So we hope, can I announce where, G, yet? No?
No, we cannot announce
Fuck
where
you.
yet. But it's big. It's very, very
It's
big.
going to be
and
awesome. It's going to be awesome. So another opportunity to interact with the fans, but we're also not taking that experience away from the fans that are showing up, though, because on that Thursday we're going to have a setup like by one of the bar areas where there's also a bunch of tables, and let's see if old man Murley can bring the fucking hot hand, and then maybe I'll fucking let him play for our team on Friday if he brings us to the roulette gods.
The roulette.
Biz, hey,
gods.
Biz was so buckled in Detroit that he added the letter V to the word obliterated.
When, just now or there?
Obliterated.
Did I just say obliterated?
I think so. I caught a V in there. Was that a
did.
niner?
Right.
Learn something new every day.
Merles feels disrespected. I don't really blame the guy. When you say he's out of shape, possibly true, but I'll have you know he's lost 11 pounds since Minnesota. I go, dude, that was like a week ago. He's like, yeah, I haven't eaten one thing and I haven't drank. So 11 pounds.
Yeah, but
already,
that's not the
and
way to do it, though. Then he's going to come to the tourney and then he's going to bonk because he's going. That's not how you should be treating the body. If I could see some improvement in the health department, maybe a couple training videos over there in Sweden, I'd gladly add him to the roster, but he also has to be the fourth line guy, the guy making sure the beers are cold. Maybe he's also working PR for our team, so he's got to wear a few different hats if he wants to get named to the big deal selects.
Well, they'll be cold, but unfortunately, he'll probably drink them before anyone else can have one. So,
and that's another
they'll
thing.
be
So,
there, though.
So the first trip we went on to NYC, even Teddy was like, "Jesus Christ, this guy gets buckled." I was like, "Yeah, he makes RA look normal." So, but then this last trip, he buttoned it up a little bit. So, hey, if he can bring that, oh Jesus,
Professorial?
I'm going to add a couple other letters to this word. Professionalism to Vegas for the hockey side of it with dedication to the fitness, Merles. And you're going to have to light up the tables. You can join the big deal selects, pal. Is that a deal for you, Whit? Am I no longer the bad guy here?
We'll see if he can get into one game. If it's like Rudy, like people are going to be putting their jerseys down, like just to get this guy into a game action. By the end, we're going to be chanting his name. He'll be getting carried. He'll be getting carried off the street hockey court, but just because he's too waffled, not because he scored the game winner.
So I think some people are still a little confused as to like the connection between maybe the podcast and Merle's, and it runs deeper through you because you play with him longer in Wilkes-Barre, correct?
Yes. Merles and I have gone way back. My first professional roommate, I've told this story many times. I showed up to play the Bridgeport Sound Tigers in my first professional game, an AHL playoff game after leaving BU. He made me drive him and a bunch of other guys, Reed Simpson, Colby Armstrong, to the Mohegan Sun Casino, and we ended up missing curfew the night before my first pro game, which was a playoff game. So I know Merles goes ways back, and he's a gambler. Like, in a sense of I really like gambling, like he's a gambler. You know, he's just a big time, as you know, loves the action. And he's really kind of hopped on with RA as our gambling guy. So he crushes Europe. And for anyone who has any other questions, DM Merles or tweet me, and we'll fill you in on this guy and who he really is. But we want to get him into a game in the Street Hockey Chiclets Cup. And what else did I have to say? Actually, he let me know. I have is it Mea Culpa? I remember we brought that up one time. Last week, I wasn't sure about who fixed and really helped Alex Tuck become the dominant skater that he is these days. And it's actually a guy, Francois Mathot. He's in Rochester, New York. So Merle's actually did a little work with him. He texts me right away. He goes, "Hey, Mutt, you pigeon. You didn't even know the guy's name." So shout out Francois Mathot for making Alex Tuck one of the fastest skaters in the league, I'd say. I had that incorrect, so mea culpa on the Wit Dog. My weekend, phenomenal. Watched hockey Saturday. It was great. We got about it was one of those, like, you're getting 3 to 4 inch news broadcasts in the snow, and we got 13 inches at my house. So it's just covered in snow. And the guy who plows my driveway didn't come. I shoveled my whole driveway. It's about half a mile long. I'm telling you, my back
Get
was
him the Medal
buckled.
of Honor, folks.
Absolutely. And then the worst thing is I did such a bad
Can
job.
we have a moment of silence for Whit here for fucking shoveling his driveway? Can we get a moment?
Thank you. Listen, when you shovel, you're taught as a youngster not only to bend your knees, you cannot be bending over at the waist. You have to get to the concrete. You have to get to the asphalt when you're shoveling. I wasn't doing it because I was alone. I was tired. I was exhausted.
Cutting corners.
So I didn't, cutting corners, exactly. And so I didn't get to the end. So then what happens? It freezes overnight. I could have skated on my driveway. So then I had to go out. I bought
ODR?
$160 worth of the salt. And I was laying salt. Instead of plowing the driveway, I basically salted the driveway. So now it's like
He's got the Himalayan, the pink stuff.
No, they asked, "Do you want the pet safe salt?"
He's cracking it on
no.
his driveway. Just trying to get
Salt Bay, Lit Salt Bay in his driveway with pink Himalayan.
Pink
All right,
Whitney
that
salt.
might be the
Pink Whitney
funniest-
salt. That
Wow.
could be big.
It's
That
actually
could be.
Oh, fuck off.
Pink Whitney Himalayan.
Yeah, I'll be hawking that in no time. Cool, because fucking Draisaitl keeps ignoring my calls for the cologne. I would be remiss if I didn't mention, like, one of the toughest tweets I saw over the week was the guy who like was just curled up in a ball in his house. He's a politician. His wife, who's a nurse, comes home from a 12-hour shift. She's shoveling the driveway, and he sends out a tweet like, "Hey, how awesome is my wife? 12-hour shift being a nurse, and she's out there shoveling the driveway."
With the picture of her
He thought that was going to go over well.
Oh,
Yeah.
my. Well, listen,
It's-
now, to a fair point, maybe after a 12-hour shift, she needed something to kind of calm her mind, and that's how she chose to do it for her.
Oh,
activity.
yeah, that's what everyone hopes for, a post-12-hour work shift. I'm going to calm my mind with a nice shovel job of the driveway.
But the fact, it's a politician, and I think he thought it was going to go over as a compliment. Oh, my, this guy was under siege.
Oh, my God.
He got, what's the
will
term?
say-
Ratioed?
Oh, big time.
You don't
Big
want to get
time
ratioed, folks.
And
Getting
now he's an
getting
official
ratioed
meme, too.
Stinks.
It sucks.
Mind you, I'll say this. My marijuana smoking has gone down enormously. I do it way less, way often. I actually am pretty happy with it.
Picked it up for you.
I'm kind of going down towards maybe like at some point quitting, but it can't just be one of those like overnight things. Shoveling snow is maybe the best thing to do high you could ever imagine.
That and
Talk
headphones,
about
it's not
a
work.
good thing to smoke before doing, because you just go into your own planet. Now, mind you, that's maybe why I didn't get to the asphalt and I had to salt the whole thing the next day.
Exactly.
But still, not a bad thing to put in some music and then shovel after feeling pretty good.
Well, it's funny what you said that, because since I've been living in a condo, I said to G a couple weeks ago, my ounce lasts probably like 3 months now, because I'm in a non-smoking building, so it's like every time I have the urge, you got to leave, you got to walk downstairs. It's just like it cuts down. No, I mean, as opposed to walking out of your back door, that's a huge difference.
Crossing the fucking Sahara Desert.
By the way,
rip a
Ari
bowl.
moved in there like 3 weeks ago. Talk to me in 2 months when he's hotboxing the kitchen. I'm not walking downstairs anymore.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
also-
RA's blowing. He's got his head stuck in the window. The little window that opens, trying to.
Like the hotel when you get to do this much, and you're like,
hiding behind the drapes.
He's like the dog between the bars on the stairs on the way upstairs. Good one.
But the
Biz.
best part is not having a shovel. That's like when we got. I'm like, I don't care if we get 2-3 feet. I don't have to fucking shovel.
Don't
anything.
worry, Whit.
So that was
We
nice.
can just move along. You know when they got the dogs that stick their head between the poles on the staircase on the way up the stairs, and they get their head caught. That's RA. Anyway.
That's what edibles are for. Anyways, well, the football playoffs, boys, they're starting up this weekend. Going to be some cocktails with the gang, so make sure you're stocked up on your Pink Whitney to either celebrate your team moving on or to drown your sorrows. Wait until next year yet again. And if you don't like football, stop by your favorite local spot and slurp down some Pink Whitney there. You guys have any Pink Whitney over the weekend or what?
No, I got. Okay, I'll let you go first.
oh, sorry. No, you go ahead, buddy.
No, buddy. It didn't matter. I was gonna pump up Pink Whitney on the side of. We got a sandbagger coming out soon. Brought to you by Pink Whitney, as always. Little birdie juice action. A lot of Pink Whitney activations over the course of that All-Star weekend when we're doing the ball hockey in Vegas as well. We reached out to the guy who won the event, or not the event, the merch thing for Pink Whitney, Grinelli. We mentioned his name. I'm drawing a blank right now, but I actually offered him, said, hey, do you want to come to the All-Star game instead? He goes, no, in April, it's come out. He's going to bring some buddies. We're going to do that round of golf, and then I'm going to put him in a box at the Coyotes game. So this is all cool things that we're able to start doing with Pink Whitney now, because, you guys have shown so much support, so we can give back. We did that Go Puff thing. So, Whit, I'll hand it over to you, but lots of amazing things merch-wise coming, Pink Whitney, and, of course, the content.
I'm glad you went first, because he just asked anyone drinking any Pink Whitney. I was like, yep. I don't really have much else besides I crushed some Sunday. But I did have a little bit of a panic this week at one point. I saw, I don't know if it was a tweet or on the news, that Massachusetts banning the sale of nips. Now, mind you, for anyone who doesn't know, Massachusetts, we might as well be in Canada. It is one of the worst states in the country. You're not allowed to do anything here. You can't sports gamble. You can't buy flavored Jewel pods.
No happy hour. Happy hour is
There's no
illegal.
happy hour. Like, this state, I'm telling you, sucks.
We couldn't buy beer on Sunday.
All right,
But-
run for office.
But it, that'd go well. I'm sure there's no skeletons they'll dig up.
Yeah. Fucking crypt.
It's just one town, Wareham,
He's got the
Massachusetts.
graveyard.
I saw it's banning nips. So we're good. We're good on the Pink Whitney. I had a little bit on the rocks with my brother-in-law. So it was
You
a
should
great
call
weekend.
RA the rim. What was your something Reaper?
The Rim Reaper.
Bowl Reaper? No, that was lame.
I don't know if this is good or bad
that's
news,
true.
but when we met up with PJ Stock for the interview a couple weeks ago, and he force fed me scotch that night, boys, I think I might have developed a little bit of taste for scotch, because he sent me home with a bottle. and
Great.
Oh, nice. We should
That's
we
just
should
what
get
I
a
was
lot
hoping to hear.
accomplished on the next trip.
Everyone's waiting for the episode when RA's like, I'm sober, and now he's instead telling us he's taking scotch on as a hobby.
Yeah.
Scotch, down into my belly.
No, I've never liked. I don't like whiskey. It's not my thing. But I the other night I couldn't go to the liquor store because I don't want to get people sick, because I was very sick. So I opened the bottle of scotch and whacked a couple back. Yeah, I didn't get buckled, but it was pretty nice.
Hold on. You were very sick and you decided to drink scotch?
Yeah, alcohol kills.
He's
the
a
germs.
sailor. That's how they used to.
Chrissy
cure their-
Malpasanti.
Man, I was sick as a dog all weekend. What'd you do? Get an IV? No, I just crushed a bottle of scotch. Feel great now.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel like shit, I mean, might as well catch a buzz. I had no wine. I didn't want to drink beers. But no, the scotch, it warms you up a little. It felt good. Like I said, I didn't drink a whole bottle. I just had a couple glasses. But yeah, it's a nice new option to have.
It'd be cool to do a reserve bottle of booze for RA. Maybe call it like Warthog whiskey. Wouldn't that
Warthog
be cool?
special.
You
And
can make your own fancy one, like out of like rich barrels that are that are smoky, but not from tobacco smoke, but
Coal.
from weed smoke.
Coals from my fireplace.
Or
I
an
can
old
fly
metal
them.
trash barrel.
But no, it's a nice alternative buzz.
It's brewed in trash.
It's like Oscar the Grouch.
You
Like
just get the
pulling
sit-
the old
Prison
what is
brew.
it called? That he spinach and trash, but the whiskey pops out.
Compost?
Perfect.
You mean compost?
Compost. Yes, Biz.
Holy
Boom.
shit! Back to -1. Whew.
You're back, baby.
Good way to end the first.
Obliterated.
Well, anyways, boys, Saturday night action. It was nice to have, I don't know if it was a full slate. I know there was some more postponed games, but tons of great stuff. Just felt like a regular Saturday again. I know we've been struggling with all the postponements. We had some unreal games. I think the marquee one that everybody was looking forward to, Toronto, Colorado. The Leafs get a 4-1 lead, and, well, we know what happened next. They blow a 4-1 lead. Colorado ends up winning 5-4 on a Devin Taves goal. They had to pull, what's his face? Darcy Kemper. They had to yank him, bring in Francouz, who played his ass off late. But, Biz, you're the Leafs guy. They pulled what they pulled, man.
Before that, Kemper had been great on that 7-game stretch. I think he went undefeated with insane numbers. I don't know if you have him there already.
Before he got pulled 7-0 with a 2.28 goals against, 9.29 save percentage, but then he gave up the 3 quick goals. And a great move by Bedsy to pull him out of there, put in Francouz, who hasn't been great this year, but he pulled it off.
We saw a couple of good goaltending pulls. We saw it in the TNT matchup between Pittsburgh and St. Louis. We'll get to that later, but agreed, RA. Like, at that time, change up the momentum and, like, listen, credit where it's due, and let's focus on the positive. Colorado is humming right now. Makar, I would say, has the way he started his career has established himself probably as the next Paul Coffey as far as what changes, like what differences you've seen in a defenseman over time. Like, Carlson was probably the last defenseman to come on the scene like that and be able to produce offense and do all this fancy shit. I think that Makar is kind of changing it in a Paul Coffey type level off the gate here. So McKinnon is looking more like himself. They ended up fucking rolling back. I will say that, Whit, do you not agree that sometimes when you go into Colorado, at the start of the game, you can feel all right, but that altitude eventually catches up to you throughout the game? And I'm not going to say that should be an excuse, but they just, in that third period, in the second half of the game mostly, Colorado just took over. Toronto looked like a completely different team.
Yeah, ironically, I actually remember the times I played there. The first 10 minutes were really hard. Now, maybe that's because their team's coming out so hard and maybe we had a poor start, but if you were to look at it like and think, when would you actually be affected by the altitude? It would be later in the game. Having said that, I think Colorado just had a real slow start and kind of figured it out. I don't know. None of the Leafs guys, I don't think they mentioned like feeling brutal as the game went on. Colorado just took over. And first thing, I got to give the Leafs some credit. I had no idea that they're the least penalized team in the league. That is a stat that is very nice to be able to like call your team that, because in a sense, like the rest of the team can really concentrate on getting their roles, getting the first, second, third, fourth line out there without having penalties disrupt like the whole chemistry with line matching and things like that. So I didn't know that, but even going up against Colorado, it kind of shows that you're never really safe. I mean, 3-0 against them. Ari's actually the one that's really gotten me on 3-0 now. It's like doesn't mean anything.
What it's the new 2-0. You know how it's like, 20s.
Yeah, I guess it's just more like
30s
it doesn't.
are the new
If it's
20s.
the first period. Well, we were in Minnesota. What game was that, RA? We bet against each other. We were on opposite sides. It was Nashville, Washington, and Washington got up 3-0, right?
Yeah, that's right. When we were interviewing Billy Guerin, by the way, who we're dropping a little later.
Yes, this is perfect. Boom, 3-3. So I know as confident as Leafs fans probably were, all of a sudden with that offense and what they can do, it's like you're never out of it as an Avs fan or player. The one guy I keep watching, and you talk about Makar and Girard, like this Devon Taves is unreal. And what's interesting is that he doesn't. I can't believe the Islanders got rid of him. Like, looking back now, it was like, I'm surprised that they didn't really notice, all right, this is a guy, like, legit 25 minutes, top 2 defenseman, can play against anyone, can play offensively and is solid defensively because of how well he skates. So he gets the OT winner, but he was creating the entire time. The other thing I noticed in the game, besides Matthews' 2 goals, the first one was he kind of tried to redirect it and then got it back, empty net, backhand, easy. The next one, he was pissed off. He wanted a penalty called on. Forget who was covering him at the point. Instead, he goes in, buries one bar in. That was sick. So he gets 2 goals, which he's making it look easy as he always does. But the guy that I watched and the 2 passes he made was Rantanen from beneath the goal line.
Between
it was
his legs?
Stupid. So he had 2 assists. Both of them, he was beneath the offensive goal line, and he throws it in front. The first one was Landeskog ends up scoring it. I didn't even know it went in. And then the next one, who scored the other one?
Was it Comfer who tied
Comfer. Yes, short side. The cameraman couldn't even tell. Makar got another second assist on that.
He got juked,
yeah, exactly.
just like the Makar goal.
So
cameraman's R.I.P. this week. Holy shit. Colorado fucking toe tagging cameramen.
Yeah,
did you see the fucking Makar OT winner? I know we're going back from the marquee matchup to the one against Chicago on the road. Our boy Kirby Doc. Hey,
poor bugger.
Boys, I think it's just
could have been happening to anyone, Kirby.
Could have happened to anybody, buddy. Fuck, that's on. That's a rough one.
So you compare him to Paul Coffey?
Yeah, because I think when Paul Coffey came about. You can't compare him to Bobby Orr because when Bobby Orr came around at his peak, he was like leading the league in scoring.
And nobody ever done that as a defenseman.
It was like, so it's not, I mean, am I saying that it could never exist again? No. But I think it would be unfair to put him in Bobby Orr category unless he goes on a fucking heater of like 4 Norrises and they win 2 or 3 cups and he gets like a Conn Smythe in there. And he's tucking. I think if he can consistently get to 30 goals a season as a defenseman in today's NHL, I think Green did it one year with Washington, and it was fascinating. And I remember he had those Easton Stealths. I might be mistaken. Who's like the last defenseman to go back-to-back seasons scoring 30 goals?
Wow, that's a good question.
You know what I'm saying? It's very hard to duplicate, but he's a guy that, as a defenseman right now, is scoring at a rate where he can put up 30 a season.
But what could a defenseman even do to revolutionize the position in a way that Orr did? I mean, Orr took it to this other level. Is there something a guy could even do further? I don't know.
I think given how good the game's gotten, it's going to be impossible to ever rival Wayne as far as his ability to put up points and how he figured out the algorithm and how to kind of beat the system at the era that he did. That's kind of how it is, right? He just kind of found these holes and like he was able to develop these tools in order to, you know, he didn't even have the hardest shot, but he had this kind of like, sometimes you see in his old shot where he has this like pump fake where the way the goalies played back then, they start sliding across and then all of a sudden a foot on the other side of the net's opened up. It's like, yeah, it's not fucking Ovechkin teeing one up, right under the bar, like took the fucking goalie's ear off, but he figured out how to get it done.
In 1985, 1986, Paul Coffey had 48 goals with 90 assists for 138 points.
Yeah, so I think that if as a defenseman, did he what did he do like the next year, the year before that? Was he getting more than 40 goals?
In 83, 84, he had 40 goals, 86 assists, 126 points.
I think in today's era, if you're scoring like if you can go on a rip of having like 4 or 5 years in a row where he gets 30 goals, I think that's
fucking ridiculous.
Green
had 68 goals in a 3-year span. I think he went 18, like 31, 19, right? Like I don't know if there's exact years in a row, but that was I don't ever remember seeing anything like that.
It was fascinating. I remember it.
I remember seeing him in the AHL right away in Hershey, and he had the sickest toe drag too, and basically I think Makar's very similar to peak Mike Green offensively while also being like faster, probably stronger. I mean, Mike Green he didn't do much defensively. He didn't really have to at his peak. He was just so good with the puck. He had such a hard shot.
Sick style too, his gear wear.
Makar's got the similar tongues out look.
Yeah, he's got nasty gear wear too.
The same way with Paul Coffey and the same way with Green, with Ovechkin and Backstrom, like when Makar is able to do these things and you watch how he skates and his vision and his shot, and then you see these forwards up front, his numbers are not going to slow down because of that core that's there and that's going to be there the next 4 or 5 years. So as long as he's able to be, he could be doing this on. I'm telling you, Cale Makar could lead, say, Columbus in scoring. Like, there's teams in the league. He doesn't need great players to produce offensively. But when you have Rantanen, McKinnon, Kadri, and the rest of this crew, that's when you look at.
You go from like Yossi numbers to then once again like Paul Coffey was able to be surrounded by other great offensive talents as well, and that's why his numbers are inflated. So it's just like right place, right time, and it's fucking awesome to see. And it's like you got to put all your team's focus to protecting the net against guys like Rantanen and McKinnon, and then all of a sudden you get this next wave of guy. It's like, holy fuck, now we got another fucking Bowser. You beat Bowser. It's like that fucking guy in the Mike Tyson boxing game. Or I guess Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
That was stupid.
Yeah. He was the title
There was a
holder.
couple guys right before him that were tough. I don't remember exactly who they were.
Bald Bull.
Yeah.
Bald Bull was a tough bastard.
Let's not forget, though, Carlson had, so is it?
That's why I said he was fascinating too.
Oh, dude, he went 78 points, then he got hurt, and then he went 74 points, 66 points, 82 points, 71 points. So,
I don't think he drives it. Makar just does it in a very more aggressive way, much like you would compare McKinnon's game to a lot of guys. It's like
he
this
kind of
kind of
embarrasses people more.
Yeah, like he just kind of like he'll do this like 10-2 move where he just like thrusts his hip, and next thing you know, the fucking guy's on Sports Center.
Biz, we got to talk about Mike Green's off-ice style as well from 24/7. Remember they showed him putt-putting at practice on his Honda Vespa with like his house slippers on.
He's a cool.
Like a bathrobe.
He's a cool cat. Yeah, he's a cool cat.
Nice
you
little
look at him
vibe,
and you're
yeah.
like, how do you keep up with being so cool? Like, that's a full-time job.
Of course, Austin Matthews, he got 2 goals in 33 seconds. Yeah. He's tied for third in the league with 22. Leon in the lead with 26. Ovi with 24. Another note with the Leafs, Nick Ritchie, he was waived a couple days before the game. He wasn't claimed. He ended up getting his second of the year the other night. But any other notes you want to finish up on?
It sucks it was Toronto and they blew a 4-1 lead, but whatever. Who gives a shit? They're going to make playoffs. I still think they're an unreal team. If anything better to happen now, a little bit of a learning lesson. And buddy, they're still on a rip right now. They still get a point in Colorado. If you set the mindset to, hey, if you thought you were going to walk away with a point, you're still on a good stretch, and you're going into Wednesday TNT against the Coyotes. And like, I love the Coyotes to death, but fucking that's on a tee right now. And Pablo's coming back to the desert. He's coming home. He's coming home.
Let me finish.
Even Luch got into the action too. Biz, did you catch that?
Yeah, Luch was active on the social. I mean, he can, because who else is going to fucking tell him not to? He'll cave their face in.
Yeah, I mean, it's until they overcome that's just going to be something that's always going to be associated with the Leafs.
What did Luch say?
He basically goofed on him.
Seen that before.
What I think he asked, like, what happened next when the Leafs had a 4-1 lead.
Oh,
Jesus.
He
basically chirped in on Instagram with a little comment, but I think he's got to earn the right to do that. It's not like
I'll say
he was on the team that did it.
Craziest
So
game
he
I've
can
ever
say
been
that.
at was that game.
Let's pump the brakes here, because I'm not even going to be very aggressive anymore on chirping Edmonton, because the Flames haven't been playing the best of hockey either. So both the teams of Alberta, and just to clarify, if neither team makes playoff, the bet is null and void.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That was null.
Okay. So, I mean, geez, like right now the way that things are trending, it's not looking great. Now, I think that Mike Smith's getting healthier. I think Edmonton's going to be okay here. If I'm a betting man, I would probably hop on like a next 10-game wave of gambling for the Oilers.
Thanks, Biz. I appreciate that, buddy.
I mean, they've dropped 5 straight. They've fallen out of the wild card position. Mikko Koskinen didn't appreciate. He felt he was thrown under the bus. He spoke to a Finnish newspaper. But like you said, Biz, Calgary, they were swept on their Sunbelt trip. Lost 3 games to Florida, Tampa, and Carolina. So struggling in Alberta. But
we should probably get into the Tippett comments.
Yeah, I want to get into that now. Like, what do you think about all that being a booster?
I was upset and disappointed in Dave Tippett. So for anyone who isn't aware, I think everyone kind of is by now if you're following the NHL, but the Oilers had a really big game in New York, and they played well. And at the beginning of the game, the first goal, Koskinen completely misplayed the puck beneath the goal line in the defensive zone, obviously.
Trapezoid got him. Trapezoid got him.
Oh, yeah. I don't. It was ugly. Either way, the goal was on him. And then the Oilers played real well, but then what was the other goal was kind of his fault too. I can't remember the second goal. I'm blanking out.
It was a squeaker, and it ended up being the backbreaker, and I believe it was a point shot from Fox. I don't know if Kreider got credit for it, but it was in his body, and then all of a sudden it trickled in. So a bit of a weaker squeaker.
Exactly, that's what it was. I think Kreider did tip that.
Back to even.
After the game, if you're an Oilers fan, you're furious because you actually played pretty well. You didn't score. That's an important factor here. You didn't score, which you haven't really done lately. And you lose the game basically because of Koskinen, right? He played poor. Well, Tippett comes out right away and just throws him under the bus completely. He's like, our goaltending isn't good enough. You know, first goal, horrible play. What else are you going to say? It's a horrible play. It's like, it's just hard when a team's down in the dumps and you have this team that has to make the playoffs. This is not an option to miss this year, and things haven't been going well. And I'm not going to say Tippett, coaching in Canada, hasn't felt that the fans hate his guts right now and all want him to be fired. So he's 100% feeling the pressure. But as the leader of the team, it's really hard to just chuck the guy under the bus when the whole team has not played well enough lately. So for me, Koskinen, he has a point. And now he talks to a Finnish newspaper, so everyone needs to know when these European guys are talking to newspapers back home, so much is lost in translation. And the way they say things can be completely worded in a different way. Like when you get...
It's how you start wars. It's how wars were started.
Oh, really?
Well, like lost in translation. Oh, yeah, you know, like it's not actually what's being said.
I like that. Yeah, I like that, Fizz. And in the end, he comes out and says, like, basically that's bullshit because the team hasn't scored any goals. My last 7 starts, they got 7 goals, whatever it is. I can't score goals as well. Really sticking up for himself, which I understood he'd do that, but you just can't have a team in disarray the way the Oilers are and have a coach come out and shrivel a guy. To me, I don't like it. I wouldn't appreciate it as a player, and I'm not even sure that his teammates would think that's a smart play, even as upset as they probably were at him for his mistake during the game. So I didn't like it as an Oilers fan. I did not appreciate it one bit.
I heard a few people refer to it as the Giselle comeback. He can't throw and catch the ball like in the Super Bowl, right?
Ooh,
who dropped it in that Super Bowl?
Right in his hands.
Man. So did he ever win a Super Bowl with them?
No.
Oh,
I know.
My goodness.
Sucks. He was a great player for them.
Put us in
That's tough. He was such a honey badger.
Fuck off, Biz. I know what you're doing.
No. Listen.
What's he doing? Brunelli.
No. Listen.
He's kicking us while he's down. He knows what he's doing.
Absolutely not. I am such a fan of Belichick, and I actually embrace the Patriots' dominance. I am a Packers fan, and if the Packers don't win, I think it's funny when the Patriots win. Like all that Deflategate shit. Like I was like, this is fucking amazing how intense this is all. Like, what was the other? There was a few shady ways that they won Super Bowls that drive people nuts. Like, and then they won the comeback in Atlanta. But where did this get started? Oh, going back to Tippett and them. Unless you guys want to talk about
I
the
do
Patriots.
not right now because it's a big game this week. We're getting ready on to Buffalo.
No,
Biz, were you surprised?
But
Tippett
I
did that?
agree.
You played for him.
Yeah, a lot. And I think like you touched on the fact that sometimes the media pressure in Canada can get very heavy. And I don't know if he's ever dealt with it to this extent. I don't think he has because he was in Dallas before he was Arizona. And things are not going well. And man, like part of the fan base, part of the people buying tickets like want him canned. And I'm sure that he's probably feeling that. And then the media sees that. So the questions tend to get more intense and more intense and more intense. Well, I don't know, man. I think that they've been having a lot of things go against them enough to not turn on each other. And in a sense to say, hey, back your goalie up for another maybe week or two, and if it gets really, really bad, it's just like, well, fuck, dude, the goaltending's going to speak for itself, right? Like, it's just kind of like, what do you want the guy to do? You know? But, yeah, it was not a good look. So hopefully that things can start rolling in the positive direction here that I'm assuming that they're going to happen because you mentioned the D that they lost. They finally got their roster together and clicking, and I think that everybody important is going to be back in the lineup that's been through COVID protocol. And Smitty is now back in what we think is game shape. That's what's being kind of sold to the Edmonton fan base, correct? He's back. Now, from here moving forward, you're going to get great goaltending from Mike Smith, right? Is that kind of what you're understanding?
I really hope. It's what we need.
Okay, so now it's like now the clock's ticking. Now it's ticking.
Okay. Well, like I said, they're looking on the outside, looking in right now as far as the wild card.
Like, RA, as a fan, are you like, if say Tuukka got called out by, that's different because Tuukka's career is so much better than Koskinen's. But as a fan, are you like, oh, what the fuck is that? Or are you almost happy, like, yeah, this guy's got to wake up and play better?
I don't think it helps. I don't think a coach calling out a goalie in the media is really going to help a situation, especially if a guy's struggling. His confidence is probably struggling. You can probably handle that in-house and not have to throw it out there. I don't think too many guys are going to get motivated by getting called out in the media. So, and then I think Tip actually said after he might have got taken a little out of context because people tend to glom onto that one quote and make it look like that's all he talked about when it was one sentence out of, he probably talked for 10 minutes and they pull the one sentence out. So he might not have like sued him as bad as people are implying. Yeah. But yeah, why even go there? Because nothing. I don't think there's any good benefit. Maybe an older veteran who's been through some trenches can say, all right, I get it. I'm getting the message here, but I don't know if Koskinen's that guy that you want to send that message to.
Or maybe he got asked 3 times in that presser about it, where by then he just kind of combusted. And like you said, it's just a bad moment. I'm going to chalk it up to the fact that he's probably feeling a lot of pressure right now to get this team in the playoffs and having success. So put it under the rug, move on. I think that they're going to have success. So look out for the gambling. Who they got coming up here? I haven't even looked at their schedule coming up.
They play Ottawa Friday.
It's been going bad.
I think they're off until Friday.
Yeah, still all the Canadian.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
We did the the Islanders guarantee. There's another guarantee. That should be fucking a Barstool boost.
Yeah, there's all the postponements because of the Canada. These owners don't want to have empty buildings, so they're flip-flopping.
Oh, no, they play the Wild.
States and doing all that shit. But,
sorry, I'm misreading.
Well, that's all right. Well, that's a great segue with the Wild.
Load over there, Jesus.
The Wild had a game Saturday night at home versus Washington. They were missing I think 8 or 9 guys through all this COVID shit. Losing to the Caps, they crawl back. They beat the Caps 3-2 in a shootout. Absolute crazy game. I mentioned it in the intro. We saw a 6-on-5 pulled goalie on a delayed penalty goal, which the last time I remember seeing one was the Bruins probably 30 years ago. There probably has been one since. It's a very rare situation when the delayed penalty is on and the team basically has an own goal. And our buddy Moose, Marcus Foligno, he was the last Wild to touch the puck. He didn't have possession, so he didn't blow the whistle.
It was his 100th goal, too.
That was his 100th goal. And then what's even crazier is Washington goalie Zach Fucale. He has the NHL record for the longest start to a career with shutting out. Let me rephrase that. He set the longest shutout streak to start an NHL career, 138 minutes and 7 seconds. That was the goal that broke the streak, even though he wasn't in the net. It doesn't go as a goal against him, but he doesn't have a shutout anymore, even though he wasn't in the net. So these kind of combination of 2 things happening at the same time on one goal. Pretty freaky, man.
Do the gif of the guy's head exploding.
I know, that's tough. And
I don't even understand what you just said. I'm just going to let everybody else enjoy
I get it, RA. I get that. I get
was
that.
It? Thank you, buddy.
Zuccarello tied it up late. Foligno was in front. That was a big win for the Wild. Now, funny enough, they had 8 guys out, which I believe I read is 40. It was a Russo article. I was reading it in The Athletic. They had about 45% of their offense this year out of the lineup, 40% of their salary cap. All these enormous big players, Greenway, Kaprizov, Spurgeon, all these guys we mentioned. And still, within that game, Fiala got completely benched. He took 3 penalties in a 4-minute, 10-second span in the second period. And Evansson benched him. And it's funny, reading this article, I had no idea. When Fiala came over here with Nashville, he was a high pick. He played in Milwaukee, and so Evansson was his coach there. And I got the sense that they've always kind of butted heads. Like the way Russo worded is he's a frustrating guy. I think it was a frustrating guy to coach, or there's ups and downs with him.
He's opinionated about his game.
From what I've been told by former teammates, he's a cocky kid. And at times you see
he's a handsome fella too.
Yeah, he's a good-looking kid.
What's
too.
Up?
Probably got an absolute.
He had enormous quads.
Yeah,
I saw those in Mini.
too.
I was like, he's short but fucking jacked. So he was done. He wasn't. Evansson was not going to play him in the third period, and he actually went up at a TV timeout. I think he said something like, "I apologize for the penalties. I'm here to support my team." So got another chance. Gets out there, gets the puck out of the faceoff on the tying goal. I don't know if he ended up getting a point, and then scores a shootout goal in the win. So a nice comeback for a player who I guess from the sounds of it has a little bit of a love-hate relationship with his coach. So Minnesota, though, they needed that win. They need to get guys back, and then they finally get Brodin back, and I think he could now be out 3-4 weeks again. So that's a tough loss. That guy is an unreal, underrated defenseman. The Spurgeon used to be the guy. It's now Brodin on that team in terms of underrated players. But Minnie needed that win, and Washington just keeps getting points. They keep collecting points.
Yeah.
What a team.
Their fucking tunnel action, I mean, it gets better and better every game, too. I love how they post the videos. We got a nice Ovi typewriter. We had Oshie last episode kind of breaking it all down, folks, and they are having – who is Bradley
Dowd.
Cooper Jr. Can we roll the clip? Can we roll it?
Hey, quick cleanup, too.
Whoa!
Wow! He's feeling himself. Bradley Cooper Jr.
That was Nick Dowd coming
I mean,
out.
tell me
looking
that
good.
doesn't-
The slick back hair. I don't know who called him Bradley Cooper Jr., but he loved it.
They should, sell the experience, how they, Bezos sells the experience to the moon. You get to, dress up as a guy and get to go.
You can buy season tickets to the.
They get to whack your cock. It's like, oh, here it comes, lift off. It's like,
Dude, the other crazy clip from that game is the goalie Capo Kakkonen. He come about 30 feet out of his crease, played the puck, he backhands it right to Ovechkin and somehow makes the save. That was under a minute left, too. And I guess Moose said to the media after, I don't know why he didn't go with his forehand there. He went with his backhand instead, goofing on his goalie, because that could have been ugly. But just hilarious when the screenshot of the goalie, in his prone position, but he's 40 feet out of the crease. Something you don't see every day.
yeah. Well, going back to Oshie, interesting comments about because sometimes when you're wrapped up in doing the interview, you don't really talk about what's being said. I don't know if it's fair to say coaching the skill out of the player, basically, him not thinking that he's as skilled as the player. And you just said that you talked about the Fiala and butting heads with the coach. Sometimes you see things in your game and you're persistent and stubborn about them, but you're actually right. And another example, right now in the league, is Anthony Duclair. I don't know necessarily how much his game has changed that much since from when he came in to as opposed to maybe sometimes you just got to let the horse run wild.
Hated him.
Hey, yeah, I don't think he liked him as a person.
I didn't mean that.
I don't think. Yeah, because some people sometimes get you just no, I don't think there was much conflict. I actually asked Duclair about it, and he's like, no, I just maybe he didn't trust his game as much. But it's so awesome to see when guys are able to go to places and actually find that spot where they fit in. I think that Fiala has found that in Minnie, despite
Flourish.
maybe what's that?
They flourish.
They end up flourishing, and and sometimes it takes the right coach and the right personality of the player, and sometimes you got to siphon through that. Now, who were we talking about right before that?
Kevin Fiala.
I'll tell you what,
somewhere
though.
after the
You could
save I
say
mentioned,
Fiala
but,
looks good, and he had one monster year there. This year, the stats haven't been great. Granlund, dude, he's right about a point per game this year. That was the deal, and I think a lot of people immediately thought Minnie might have won that one, but Granlund, after struggling last year, has been dominant this year for Nashville. So
Yeah. We'll get to them because I got a firsthand look at them when they played.
Oh, you know
against
what?
the Coyotes,
Duclair could
but
kind of lead us into another great tilt. I didn't get to see all this one, but watch the replay a little bit. Is Florida Carolina from Saturday night? Two teams that could easily end up going to the Stanley Cup final from the East. I really think they both kind of have what it takes. And Duclair had a monster game-winning goal in overtime. He also had a beautiful assist. He kind of stopped up, hit Huberdeau in the first period for a goal. But Florida went up 3-1, and Carolina came storming back like they always do, 3-3, and lost in overtime. But they got a point at home. It was a back-and-forth tilt. Jarvis, that young kid Jarvis, is a player on Carolina. It's him and Aho have a real good connection. D'Angelo had another power play point on a goal by, who scored that one? Teravainen on the power play for Carolina. So watching those two teams play, I will give Carolina credit too, Carolina fans. They've been brutal when the team isn't good, and I don't really blame them. When that team struggles, it's not an enormous hockey market to begin with. But when that team's good, like this year and the runs they've been to the Eastern Conference Final, the Cup Final, that fan base is wild. That barn gets loud. They're rocking. You could tell Saturday night when they tied it up, place was going bonkers. So Carolina this year is going to be a tough out if anyone's able to do it. Same with Florida.
I was going to say, as is Florida, but how about that pass from Huberdeau to Duclair on the OT game winner, and then with the move Duclair made to corral the puck and score the goal, just absolute
quiet
beautiful
Norris
to watch.
season. Sorry, quiet Norris season for Aaron Ekblad as well, playing unreal hockey.
Oh yeah, he's one of
my
guys.
guys. Could be in the top 3.
Well, if we're talking about Florida, we do have to give props. Joe Thornton, Thursday versus Dallas, he became just the 6th player in NHL history to play in 1,700 games. Patrick Marleau, Gordie Howe, Mark Messier, Jaromir Jagr, and Ron Francis, the only other 5 guys to do it. So, tremendous accomplishment once again by Big Joe. But moving right along with the Saturday games, another doozy of a game. What do we got here? Oh yeah, Chicago Vegas.
If you're speaking marquee matchups, Coyotes in Nashville could be one of them.
Okay, we can get to them in a minute, but I mentioned Chicago Vegas. It was Marc-Andre Fleury's homecoming. We could have put this one first, Biz. This is a pretty big story. He beat his old team 2-1. He has now beaten every single team in the NHL, all 32 of them. Of course, he's the first goaltender to ever do it because no other goalie's done it. It's a huge accomplishment by him. They did a nice little video tribute for him as well, but some pregame tummy sticks with Robin Lehner. Those guys are the same tandem together. I know people have been talking about it, Biz. Like, what do you got on the old tummy sticks here?
No,
goalies
tummy
don't
sticks.
count.
We
I've
usually
always said
vote
that.
on this. Goalie, you're at the other
end. They're not
going
to be physically battling against the guy, so the tummy sticks doesn't matter to me. Tummy sticks is only if, like, you're going to laugh it up and be buddy-buddy, and then in the corner you're supposed to run the guy. Goalies never get in that, so tummy sticks is allowed.
And a very, very cool moment. What was the coach was joking around in the presser about like not playing him when he was back in Vegas, and then like they posted a tweet about it, and then like Alan Walsh hopped in like, oh yeah, like could you imagine if they wouldn't have what I would have done? Could you imagine if they wouldn't have played him in Vegas? We would have had another fucking sword fight online.
17 swords in his back. It was also Ryan Reeves' return. He got a beautiful video tribute. They gave him a hell of an ovation. And Gerard Gallant's as well. But then, buddy PJ Stock, who we recently had on, he thinks these video tributes are a little out of control. Maybe there should be some minimum standard, maybe a number of games or a number of years with the team. But I don't know. If a guy wins a cup, of course he's going to get one if he was a big factor in it. But what do you think, Biz? Is there should be some rules on these video tributes? Are they out of control or what?
I think there's a lot of factors that go involved in it. I mean, like Fleury just left there after winning a Vezina, and then he came over as like their first goalie. So him for sure. I mean, Revo too, though, because he came over right away and he had a big impact on that community. So it's hard. I get what Stalker's saying, though. Like sometimes you see him for guys and you're like he played like a year and a half there. Like what's going on? Like they don't even have enough footage of him to fucking roll a long enough video on the Jumbotron.
I think Stock is dead on. And I think the reason he tweeted it was because Hyman got one when he was back in Toronto. It's like, come on now.
Yeah,
like Zach Hyman, nice player, but it is what is the saying? Jump the shark, RA?
That's
right.
the saying, yeah. Plus, it was an empty building, too. I mean, if you're going to do it, just wait till the next time the building's full so fans can applaud him.
He's tipping his helmet to nobody, to the usher who's ushering
so
nobody
fake
around.
Crowd noise. I mean, speakers.
Tell me this. If Hyman got one in Toronto, I feel like I could have got one in Pittsburgh after the trade to Anaheim. Seriously, I went to the Cup Finals. I had 59 points one year. I was part of Generation X or whatever the hell it was. I didn't sniff getting one of those. I seriously think nowadays I would have got one. I think that's how ridiculous it is.
I think they owe you one.
They did owe me one. They shipped me out to Anaheim. By the way, I also would have gotten it in the game. I was -4, so that would have been just classic. Imagine me like raising my stick -4. Randy Carlisle just baseball bats me in the head with somebody else's stick. But I'm with Stock. If you won a Stanley Cup or you were there for, I got to say 5 seasons. Other than that, I don't know. Video tributes jumped the shark. I love that I got that saying right, so I said it again.
Yeah, it seems like any guy who played for a team before is getting one. And, yeah, there maybe should be some parameters.
Maybe I'll get one when we go back to Edmonton for a game someday. Just as a fan.
We'll have to see what happens there. Biz, another game on that Saturday night slate. You gave the early gambling tip on our text thread.
Yeah, I was feeling it.
You like the Bruins versus Tampa Bay, and they ended up rolling 5-2. The Bruins finally playing pretty well. They've won 4 out of 5 since their little COVID break there. Butch Cassidy finally mixed up the lines. He dropped Pasta down to the second line. The offense has really clicked. clicked. I don't know if you guys saw the story. David Krejci was quoted about Pasta getting bumped down to the second line. And again, what Whit just said, sometimes these translated quotes, you take them with a grain of salt, but he seemed to be kind of baffled as to why that Butch all of a sudden drops Pasta down the second line when he seemed to be apprehensive about doing it when Krejci was here. But either way, he didn't seem pissed off. He just seemed a little bit baffled by it. But either way, Kucherov, he returned the previous game. Unreal assist he had, Braden Point. Ullmark finally playing like the guy the Bruins expected when they signed him back in September. And Tuukka Rask, he signed his PTO with Providence. He was supposed to get a start in over the weekend, but they had games delayed because of COVID. And then we had the chirp fest between Marchand and the Big Rig. And we were wondering, Marchand was saying, I own you. And it's like, well, do you? Because Maroon beat you for a couple years ago. And Biz, you brought up a great question. Whose career would you rather have? Would you rather have 3 cups and, some nice paydays, or 1 cup and some nicer paydays? And it's a pretty interesting argument.
Oh, I think so. And quickly, Whit, now going back to the Pasta being surprised by it, I look at it more like I don't think they needed to bump him down because Krejci was able to drive a line, and I think that Halsey had kind of hit a stall button on his offensive production, so they more needed him to maybe even get Halsey going. So I see it as more of a compliment to Pasta's game. Is that how you see it?
Yeah,
And G, you mentioned it too, right? Like you mentioned, you noticed a big difference in Halsey's game playing with Pasta. So
I don't at all think that it was a slap in the face to Pastrnak. That's just looking for a team to start producing. You can't win with one line. Like they kind of had shown that this year. And by the way, there was times that line wasn't even playing that good. So it was just time for a shakeup. So Pasta being the guy that drops down, it doesn't mean anything. I don't think. Trying to get other guys going. And if you talk about Maroon and Marchand, listen, I love the Big Rig and 3 Stanley Cups, 3 in a row, unreal. But there's 50 million reasons I'd rather Brad Marchand's career. So if you're going to talk about I get a cup and I make like 73 million, and Pat Maroon's probably made 12, 13. Come on now. Come on.
He might be Gronk when he retires though.
Well, yeah,
and
but
be
that's
doing
not the
like
question.
Tide
That's
ads
not
and
the
stuff.
question, dude.
Yeah,
Like
no, trade right now. I guess I don't know. I'd be like,
I'm sure we're not gonna. I'm sure the day Marchand retires,
you're not going to be able to spend all of it anyway. You're not going to be able to spend all of it anyway.
You want to bet?
Just kind of playing the
You want to
contrary.
bet people can't spend it all? You ever seen these fucking NBA players? I think that you're also crazy. As much as we may see Maroon in the mix when he's done playing, whether it be media, whether it be partying, I don't know what he's going to do, but it's going to be good. I don't think like Brad Marchand's going to play his last game in the NHL, and we're never going to hear from him again either. So I would think he'd still be in the mix somehow, whether it's a guy who's looking to build teams or whether a guy who's looking to talk about the league. Marchand won't be going away.
You think he's going to be a psycho GM like Yzerman grilling young guys about cannabis consumption?
Just hoping to get an actual hit of what he thinks the kid's carrying?
I don't know, man. Like something about being Patty Maroon. Like he's like that common man where like I feel like 50% of people who like sign up for beer league do it because they're like, hey man, maybe there's a scout at the game. Like Patty Maroon can get around looking like that, So they kind of think like, and fuck, dude, the guy's got 3 cups and he still finds his way around an ice surface, being a crafty player and adding an element like, hey man, Brad Marchand's wasting oxygen on Patty Maroon. Patty Maroon's taking some focus off the game. No, not to say that doesn't maybe feed into what Marchand kind of likes and how he kind of elevates his play. But
yes,
but I think that Patty Maroon, by the time it's all said and done, I think the legend, there's still room to grow there.
As much as I'd rather Marchand's career, Marchand saying he owns Pat Maroon makes 0 sense. He doesn't. He doesn't. He beat him for 1, and he's got 2 more since. And the other Tampa thing, I think I mentioned it last podcast, Perry's probably going to get 20 fucking goals this year.
He's
at 10, and I don't think he had
at least
he
10.
might have not had 1 in the first 10 games. Like, he's on fire right now.
I should have swapped that out for my James Neal hot take, RA?
I saw he went on waivers, the real deal. I love that guy, but Biz called 33 goals for him this year, I think.
No, I said 20, maybe 25. I think I might
20,
have.
25.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Another game Boston had early in the week versus Minnie. awesome game Thursday night. 3-2, Minnesota ended up beating them. But Matt Boldy, local kid from the Boston area, he scored in his hometown NHL debut. Just an awesome moment. He was the 12th overall pick by many in 2019. And also Marco Rossi also made his NHL debut the same game. He was their 9th overall pick in 2020. But what good stuff seeing Boldy. I mean, you're a local guy. You played at hometown. Imagine your NHL debut in Boston, scoring, man, and they end up winning the game.
Just
Great moment.
awesome. I was watching it right away, kind of asking a friend of mine about his game. I knew he was a high pick, and he's had success in the Garden with BC. But right when he scored, it was a beautiful goal, too, a give and go. I don't remember who assisted on it, but you could immediately see, like, the camera went to the crowd, and they were going nuts. He had family and friends there. I just started thinking, like, your first NHL game to be in your hometown and to snipe a beautiful goal. And then after, I think the Wild, if not the NHL, tweeted a video of kind of his dad watching the play develop, and then he scored, and then the amazing celebration with what looked to be like 30 people around them just going nuts. So I was super happy for a kid I've never met to be able to get a goal in his hometown first game. What a beginning to his NHL career. And I think there's a lot of great things ahead for him from what I've been told, the type of player he is. He's battled different injuries and things like that. So good luck to him and congratulations.
And also, I mentioned Rossi. His parents flew over from Austria to make the game. They had just come back from a vacation not too long ago, and then they called them up and said, Dad, I'm playing. So they flew all the way over from Austria to see their son's debut, which is pretty cool. But another big moment from that game is the Trent Frederick hit on Kirill Kaprizov. People have been asking us. They want our opinion on it. And listen, I watched it. You can't watch the slow-down gif of it. You have to watch the play before. I don't think that he did anything deliberately dirty. I think he kind of committed to the hit. And if you watch, Kirill kind of got tripped up by Grizzy, I believe it was. It threw his trajectory off enough where by the time Frederick came in, he hit him. And it looked like he even laid up a little bit. 2 minutes for Borden was fine. I don't think it was suspension worthy. I believe him when he said it wasn't malicious. He didn't mean to hurt him. Obviously, fans were upset, but I didn't see it as a dirty play. I know I'm the Bruins guy, all that. I think I call a spade here. That's not what I saw.
Yeah, I don't think you're a homer at all in this one. I saw a big fat nothing burger. Now, what people were barking about was apparently he was running around a little bit prior in the game. So it's kind of like he was running around and then he finally ended up injuring our guy. Like, fuck him. It's like, hey, sometimes that's the nature of the beast, and maybe what goes around comes around. But yes, that's not a suspendable play. It just sucks that Kaprizov got injured.
And Kulikov came right in. He fought him, and then he fought Foligno too. So he had to go Moose, which you knew he was coming to call, and he was yelling at him from the bench later in the game. And I actually thought because Kaprizov's it was his right arm, it was hanging as he was going off, and it looked like it was up top as he got hit, where almost it could have got dislocated, like who knows. But Russo also mentioned that article I was talking about Fiala that I don't think it's long term. I think they're hoping to have him back pretty quick, but if you looked at the hit, it looked, and the way he went off, I was like, oh no, is that a shoulder? He could be done for the year. Or the dreaded Biz. You know, the dreaded guys have buckled shoulders where they try to play with the brace on, and it just sucks trying to do that. For a skill guy, that's the worst. But I didn't think the hit was dirty. I think you guys described it pretty correctly. And Frederick's always running around. That's what he does.
Yeah, I mean, it was taken care of on the ice. This is a good example of why hockey should remain in the game. I mean, I don't know when these two play again. They're in different conferences, but it was resolved the way it should be resolved. Guys fight, and then they move on. And we don't want to see Kirill Kaprizov miss any games. We love watching the guy play, and hopefully he'll be back there soon. Well, Biz, this didn't happen Saturday night, but Sunday. How about the Anaheim Angels rally monkey shows up to drop the ceremonial first puck between Anaheim and Detroit Red Wings? Absolutely hilarious.
I did not have that one on the bingo card, but I guess it all draws back to the fact that they did those cool jerseys with the Anaheim Angels. So I get was that the year they made their magical run or something? Like did it all?
A few years back. I forget specifically what year, but yeah, it was a big deal out in Southern Cal, the whole rally monkey stuff, but just hilarious the way he's sitting there. Imagine being a player sitting in, I mean, one thing, it's usually like an older retired guy or a relative of somebody, but they're waiting for a fucking monkey to drop the puck.
Yeah, so there's a couple of these that have gone wrong, one of which in the AHL. Remember the Condors? They had that big condor coming.
No, I don't remember.
And then it got
the giant bird.
Oh,
huge wingspan.
Bird.
Yeah.
It ended up going off on the bench, chased the players down the tunnel. Oh yeah, it was a bit of a shit show. So sometimes these face-offs, they end up being pretty dangerous. We had a Star Wars night in Manchester, and the guy had the special Darth Vader costume on. The boots were really slippery on ice. Well, he comes out, tries to drop the face off, and fucking tears his ACL. His fucking helmet goes flying. Oh yeah, awful.
That's a bad look for Darth Vader.
Yeah, that's a tough look. I mean, hey,
Supreme
karma's
leader
a
of the
bitch,
galaxy.
right? Karma's a bitch. You turn on your family, you tear your ACL, whammy. Maybe that was a little foreshadowing for how my career was going to end.
No better puck drop experience, I guess I'll call it, than when AJ Brzezinski had the Blackhawks jersey on at the Coyotes game, and Jans buried him with a water bottle. Yeah, he was walking off, and he was like, he was there for the Coyotes, but he had the Blackhawks jersey on. He dropped the puck, and then he's walking off, and Jans just put the top off the water bottle and just buried him with a full water bottle.
I didn't know that I must not have been there when he did that. Holy shit! What was it?
I guess he like had no clue who did it. He's just got water in his face. Like, what the fuck? As he's walking off the red carpet.
Holy hey! So there was a real tough one when there was a international game. I think it was Canada. I'm pretty sure it might have been Canada, U.S. And they set up this mat for this girl to walk off to do the Canadian anthem, and there was a bit of probably an 18-inch step down. And as she stepped down, she goes ass over tea kettle. She gets so embarrassed. She goes running back down the tunnel. They finally calm her down and get her to come back out. She ends up bailing again.
She bailed again.
That was it. I don't even know.
That's the worst when you take a step and you don't know there's a drop there. Like, even if it's 8 inches, 6 inches, that's a nightmare city, man.
I'm telling you, like, it's one of the worst, like, secondhand embarrassment videos. Like, you just feel so terrible for the lady. You have to watch it literally looking through your fingers. It's because you don't want to see it. You think the ending's going to change the next time you watch it, but no.
Guys, Keith Yandel, actually, when the first time he came on the podcast, he told that AJ Brzezinski story. I'll play it right now if you guys want.
Okay, yeah, run it up.
So no, we were playing Chicago Blackhawks, and he was playing for the Chicago White Sox at the time, I believe, and it was during Major League preseason, so they had him drop the first puck, and as he's dropping the puck, he pulls a Chicago Blackhawks hat out of it. This is in Phoenix. Pulls the Chicago Blackhawks hat on and puts it on.
Just an asshole move.
Yeah, just to be a funny guy, but he wasn't. He was just a big goofy bitch. And so he's walking by the bench, and I'm like, fuck this guy. Grab a Gatorade bottle and just blast him right in the face with the Gatorade bottle. And he's like looking up in the stands like someone in the stands did it. And Ulf Samuelsson was our assistant coach, was crying, laughing. Like, I thought he wasn't even going to make it to the game. He was losing it. You know when the Gatorade bottle's filled to the tits and like it just squirts on rail.
Just by picking it up.
Oh yeah,
like a Pete North money shot.
I hit him. I emptied like half of it basically from his face to his jersey, and it was. I don't know. You can't come into somebody's barn and try to be a funny guy. Like,
there you go. Don't come in my house to be rooting against my team. When you're walking by our bench, bad move, AJ.
Is that fair game to humchickle water in the guy's face if he wears the other team's jersey in your building?
Might be a little extreme. Not the most accommodating host when a guy's in your building to drop a puck, but it's Yandel, so we're going to let it slide. Hopefully, what the Rally Monkey didn't leave any unexpected shit shows on any of those nice jerseys those guys were in, but if they did, we have the right solution for you.
Oh, yeah, guys. I'm here to talk to you about a very, very special partner with Spittin Chiclets. That's laundry sauce. Your laundry deserves better, right? A lot of guys, they struggle at home. They hope to someday have a partner that can do laundry if they struggle with it. You got to meet Laundry Sauce, the world's first designer laundry detergent made specifically for the boys. At LaundrySauce.com, you'll discover a better way to muck your laundry. Laundry Sauce's premium, simple-to-use laundry pods are made with bold fragrances that will have you smelling like a beauty and feeling like a man rocket. I'm telling you, if you don't think you're good-looking, just use some Laundry Sauce. You'll be buzzing around. Soulful scents like Australian sandalwood give you laundry in an exotic blend of deep amber and smooth suede. Siberian pine leaves your laundry with the fresh juniper and okmos aromas of the Soviet forest. Are you kidding me with that? And you won't even have to sign a contract in the KHL. Their carefully crafted detergent doesn't just smell great, it's gentle on your clothing. It's the Lady Bing of the laundry room, and I was a Lady Bing type player. That's why I'm a Laundry Sauce guy. Join the new generation of modern men who know how to chuck sauce on the ice and in the laundry room. If you want to start buzzing around out there, then scale up your laundry game by going to LaundrySauce.com. You and your wrench are going to be smelling like $1,000,000. Laundry Sauce. Check it out.
Well, I mean, first and foremost,
I mean, if you're going to talk about
Unbelievable.
Siberian pine and the Australian sandalwood, you know those scents are legit.
did you mix in the KHL line off the
No, I didn't.
dome?
I just read that thing word for word and kind of crushed it because I think they just hoped I would announce it the way they wrote it.
Should we bring up the wagon talk? We haven't talked about wagons yet, Biz.
Well, a couple things. Going back to the Marchand and Patty Maroon thing, they're slap another $5 million each on the franchise values for the amount of entertainment they provide to the league. And there was one other thing I was going to bring up. Oh, Leafs, they're fine. Everything's good with the Leafs. We're going to keep on rolling here.
You mentioned,
what were you talking
that
about
at
already?
the time of the Leafs recap.
Okay.
The Penguins, they won 10 straight before losing a game, and we were wondering what constitutes a wagon. Is the label given out too easily? Is the league just too stacked right now, and there are so many wagons out there? But you alluded to it earlier, Biz, the TNT game versus St. Louis, awesome game. Pens ended up winning 5-3. Sid ties the game at 3. The Blues challenge for a goalie interference. They end up losing. Pittsburgh runs away with it. What do you got for us there, Biz?
Well, I mean, 10 in a row, you're a wagon. Like, if you win 10 straight, how often does that happen? Maybe a couple times a season? So then you get the status, especially if you're going to knock off St. Louis the way they did at home. But I just think it's one of those years where I can't remember a year where you could list off this many teams who, in fact, during the course of the season had winning streaks at the length that they've had and been like very, very dominant. Like right now, you could say that Colorado is listed in right now wagon status. Just because Pittsburgh lost one game and gave it up to Dallas doesn't mean they're off of it. Yeah, if they lose 2 of the next 4, they're off kind of that wagon status throne. So I think that there's plenty of teams that can be in, Edmonton was in wagon status at the beginning of the year, when their power play was at 50% and nobody could touch them, right? Everybody usually gets at one point in the season wagon status. Now, most of the time, most of these teams choke with it. Every time Grinelli ends up printing the shirt, they fall off. Although New York Rangers, we made one, and they have kept on winning. They are not bending a knee to this pressure of the wagon status with. What's your opinion on all of it?
I think it just depends on what's going on with the season. If you got a team that's won 6-7 games in a row, they're a wagon right now. In terms of making T-shirts, I feel like it's got to be like you go back to the Buffalo wagon that originally ruined the entire franchise. They'll probably never recover from it. But I like the Rangers wagon shirt. I think there could be a Penguins wagon T-shirt going down the side diagonal like those jerseys they wore this year, those throwback from the mid-'90s. You got to say St. Louis, Colorado, Nashville, looking at the Central, they're all wagons right now. Florida, Tampa Bay, Toronto, you could call them wagons. Carolina, Rangers, Washington, Pittsburgh. There's legitimately we talk about the parity in the NHL. There's 12 teams that could win the cup. So in terms of wagons, yeah, we got 1 million of them, it feels like. I do think, though, to be a true wagon, you got to have some playoff success. So unfortunately, Toronto doesn't count.
Oh, snap. Wow. Yeah, it's like a radio fly effect.
But I mean, you could say the same for this core group with Colorado.
They've gotten out of the first round.
Okay.
And the collapses as well. They haven't had those. But keeping with the wagon talk, the Nashville Predators, what you just said, it absolutely on fire. This team leads the West with 48 points thanks to the UC and Yossi show. They've been absolutely unreal so far. They haven't stumbled. A lot of people, Biz, thought these guys were going to stumble to start the year. They lost some players, but they haven't missed a beat. Duchesne and Johansson have been playing up to their potential. They're getting absolutely fantastic results. And we need to talk about this rookie, Tanner Jeannot. He put himself in the call the mix easily. 11 goals, 11 assists in 36 games. He's third in rookie scoring points. Also had a bunch of fights. This kid has fought in probably 6 or 7 guys, 62 penalty minutes, is 17 more than the next rookie. So this kid's unreal. And again, Yossi, I mentioned, still playing at an elite level, leads the team in scoring with 34 points, 18-1 Norris preseason odds. So, Biz, you saw the Preds up close the other night. What did you see?
I mean, you summarized it perfectly. I shot Duchesne a text, man. It obviously been a couple years that he hadn't really been playing like himself. You can really sense a difference in his game. He's playing with a lot of passion this year. He ended up making this fucking saucer pass in the game the other night, backdoor. It was stunning. that's a big component to their success right now. Him and Johansson are playing to what they expected. So they have all of a sudden this secondary scoring element, right? Because you know you're going to get Norris caliber play from Roman Josi. He's a fucking machine. It's like I still think he's criminally underrated and not talked about enough now, because you get these guys like Adam Fox, Cale Makar, Hedman, and maybe certain guys in bigger markets get talked about. He's not talked about enough. So between that secondary scoring, you mentioned this rookie component with Tanner Jeannot and what the spice he's added to the mix. You get the production from the back end with Josi. You get the goaltending that you do. And a guy who's known as a streaky player is probably on one of the hottest streaks right now as far as goals. He didn't play in this game the other night against Arizona, and they didn't end up needing him. But I think he had 16 goals in his last 20 games was Philippe Forsberg. And he's been red fucking hot. And you talk about that elite skill and some of these insane goals that have been scored this year. Go back to the one where he's dancing Petro in Vegas. And guys, Petro's not really a guy that's easy to walk around. He's a very competitive guy at both ends of the rink. And he comes off the wall and he ends up flicking the puck in the air and then ends up hitting it a second time over Petro. And he gets shot out of the cannon and then ends up finishing the thing off. So he is just playing at a different level right now. And I got jammed up on the TNT broadcast about who I think Coach of the Year should be, because I still think there's so many good teams and there's still so much to figure out. But talk about a team I don't even know if I had them making playoffs, much like at the beginning of last year when they were struggling. You got to think of Heinz Coach of the Year right now. They're leading arguably the toughest division in the league with a team that nobody probably even had in the playoff picture with the teams in that division.
No doubt. I remember last year, I think a couple people were saying this guy could have been let go. And you talk about a patient GM in Poyle, but Nashville's a special team. I mean, it's shocking to see what they've done. I love the Tanner Jeannot story because I really appreciate undrafted players who spend time in the East Coast Hockey League. And I think 2 different seasons he's down there. And just to see the success he's having, he's only 24 years old. He's having a great year. And this is a kid who, you're dealing with, and failure's not the right word, but undrafted, that's a disappointment. You're dealing with the East Coast League. A lot of times that can be a disappointment. And in the end, this kid continues to get better and better. Now he's got a shot, and who knows when the fuck he'll ever even see the AHL again, let alone the coast. So I love stories like that, and it's a player who's definitely changed the vibe of that team, where it's another guy who could play offense and be a prick to play against, and all of a sudden, whoa, that line's different with Tanner Jeannot playing on it. I think Duchesne's play has been completely different this year. You mentioned that, Biz. And Forsberg, when he's going and playing, I mean, he pulled off one of the coolest, smoothest Michigan goals of all time. I think it was in Edmonton. Quickly, he put it up and roofed it the way you've seen a lot of guys do lately. And I think that Josi, you said it perfectly. He's so underrated because he is 55 points every single year. This year he's leading the team in scoring while also playing PK and 26 minutes a night. It's like this guy is top end. So I know I mentioned Ekblad for the Norris, but then you got Makar, Fox, Josi. There's so many amazing defensemen out there. Who knows how that race is going to go down. But in the end, with the offense and the defense and the coach and how well they've all gelled together, RA's boy Saros is still the MVP of this team.
Oh, yeah.
So you get a goaltender that can be this good, and you get guys with bounce-back seasons, and this is what happens.
Yeah, 40-1 Vezina odds preseason. In his last 51 starts before Saturday, 34 wins, leads all NHL goalies. 207 goals against was fourth. 934 save percentage was first. His 942 save percentage at even strength is first. And I don't even understand this one, but 42.19 goals saved above average, courtesy of Natural Stat Trick. That's number one as well. So this guy for the last calendar year has been probably the best goalie in the league. And also, too, the preseason odds for the Cup, 70-1.
I wonder what it was to make the playoffs.
Obviously, they haven't won nothing yet.
Seriously.
70-1 before. And then just to go back to Forsberg, we got to mention that goal versus Vegas. The Pietrangelo draped all over him. Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure to mention that one.
Sometimes you're getting ready to tee up the next thing, buddy.
Yeah.
It's that good we could talk about it again.
Biz mentioned that Petro's not a guy that gets walked, but I happen to remember Biz sort of walked him in St. Louis training camp when we were there, but what he did was he tried to flip it in. He hit him in the face. He went down, and Biz walked in. So he walked him, but it was a different type of walking.
But also, we got to talk about the gif of McPhee, of course. I think he's still getting PTSD from having traded him back in the Washington
real time?
days.
That was in that game? Or I thought that was one that was used from another game that always comes back around. That was actually in that game?
I thought, I'm going to double check it now that I'm saying it, but I'm pretty sure it was. But yeah, he basically flipped out after the goal. Of course, he traded him back on the day, like I said, at Washington. But back to Forsberg. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent this summer. He's coming off a 6-year, $36 million deal. What can he get on the open market this summer, boys?
Man, that is a guy that when he's on, you're looking 40-goal player. He's only 27. I think that he wants 7 years if it's with another team, and probably 8 years if it's with Nashville, at around $8.5 million a year. I don't see how you'd get around that guy. His numbers aren't like amazing, but he never plays a full season, at least in the last 5 years. So he's always around a point per game, though, and he scores. I mean, the thing that he's loving is his UFA year. He's got 18 goals in 26 games right now. Last year, in 39 games, he only had 12. But it only really matters what you did that year before.
He's streaky. He's very
So I don't know if
streaky.
Nashville, that's a tough one because Nashville needs a guy like that if they're going to continue this core together, and they really are going to have an issue in looking at the deals Johansson and Duchesne have. So I don't know how that's going to go out. I know they want to re-sign him, but he's going to want his payday. He's 27 years old, 28. This is when you hit that last jackpot.
Absolutely. And Biz, I did double check that. It was a writer from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, David Schoen. He said that he tweeted about the goal, then he added the GIF and it said George McPhee's reaction to Forsberg scoring agained his club. So I'm assuming it's the same one.
Well, we got to reference why
Martin
it's still
Erat.
rattling him. Is McPhee, who was a great GM in Washington, was never really able to get that team over the hump, and Forsberg was one of the guys he parted ways with to bring in Martin Erat. So that was...
In fairness, Forsberg hadn't played in the NHL yet.
Yeah. Those are just the ones that come back to hurt. Those are ones that they might use against you on the exit meeting. Like, hey, kind of like the Bowman Panarin. Like, that's an unforgivable.
All right, moving right along. We actually have a San Jose update for you. Evander Kane, he was placed on unconditional waivers so that the Sharks could terminate the remainder of his deal. He apparently violated COVID rules once again, this time in the AHL. It was reported that he allegedly flew to Canada, which I don't know, after what he's already done, I don't know why he would do that, but it's Kane we're talking about. His agent said that they were going to file a grievance because, quote, the Sharks do not have sufficient grounds for taking this action, end quote. And last night, the NHLPA did, indeed file a grievance for him. If the termination does go through, it would cost him about $23 million in salary, and of course, San Jose would love nothing more than to get out from underneath that deal. Right now, he's unrestricted free agent, regardless of how the grievance will file out. But I got to ask, Whit, I'll go to you. Which team would sign him? A lot of people think they're going to sign this guy, or some NHL team. Is it worth the risk to bring this guy in? Is he that bad of a guy? Has he done that many bad things where he's going to possibly infect a locker room or what?
I don't know Evander Kane personally, and I'm not in any locker rooms, but I can't see any team signing him. If a team were to sign him, I would think it'd be a team on the fringe trying to get in the playoffs. You cannot even imagine, or I cannot imagine, a successful team that's on a roll this year bringing that guy into a locker room, because obviously last season ended, his teammates said we don't want him back. Since then, all he's done is basically be in trouble. He can't get out of his own way. In a way, I actually hope the guy figures out like life in a sense. Like he all he does is continue to fuck up. So why would you want to bring that attitude and what he's bringing to his life right now into your locker room to just basically have some guys be upset by it, maybe have some guys want him there. I can't say, but I would be shocked if he's on an NHL team. And if he doesn't like straighten up what's going on, like will he even play in the NHL again? Because when you continue to be in the news for negative reasons, it just gives teams reason after reason to not want you there. And so the exact story was he tested positive for COVID. He went up to Canada like before he was supposed to be able to travel. And then after saying he'd return, I think December 31st or January 1st, he didn't come back till January 6th. Earlier in the AHL, he had missed 2 practices. One, he said he had food poisoning. The next day, he said, my shoulder's too sore. So he needs money. It's the bankruptcy. There's just so much drama that goes with this guy why would any team risk bringing him in? To me, it's a no-brainer that you do not sign him, and you hope for his sake that he can get his life figured out.
Yeah, I mean, that was summarized perfectly. You never know. There might be a few teams where they see the juice is worth the squeeze in order to bring him in for the second half of the season on a deal that's not going to pay him a lot of money. And if it doesn't work out over the course of the first 10, 15, 20 games, and you have a strong enough leadership group that he can't kind of infiltrate the group, if any of maybe those negative energies that are from away from the rink that are kind of they seem to keep kind of trickling into the rink. Is that a fair assessment? Like the problems away from the rink kind of start becoming a bit of too much of a weight for the organization and the team. I think that I think for some teams, I mean, especially in how competitive the league is right now, that might be the guy that they couldn't afford to go get that they can now get.
I respect. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think a team like Pittsburgh would do it, but you wonder, like, given how, like, no one's going to go in there and infiltrate that group. They have a great culture. Well, what's maybe separating them and the other teams in the East? Like, the East is a juggernaut, right? They get Malkin back. Do they think Pittsburgh fans might be saying, absolutely not, you fucking idiot, shut the hell up. But some might be saying, hey, that would be maybe a piece that we couldn't have went out and got for dirt cheap that we can now use to fucking maybe get us over the edge.
And if you're confused at all by RA describing how the PA is now handling it, the NHLPA is in filing the grievance, it's because that's why the PA is there. They have to protect every player in the league. And for a team to be able to just completely eliminate and cancel a contract, they got to have a full-blown reason. Now, San Jose has given their reasons. Bill Daly came out and said the NHL agrees with them in terms of them being allowed and able to eliminate this contract completely. But the PA then comes in and says, hold on. He does not deserve. He deserves some money here. So he's owed about $22 million. He's not going to get that. I also don't think he's going to get nothing. I think that it'll end up being there'll be an arbitrator involved, and they'll probably be in an agreement because neither player or team can really risk them winning or losing, if that makes any sense. Like, if all of a sudden San Jose is willing to come to an agreement, Kane says, all right, well, I'm not going to get nothing here. And then San Jose also, if Kane agrees to an agreement, says, all right, well, we're not going to get stuck with the complete contract that we thought we were. But for them to pull this move, it shows not only do they want to get this guy away from this entire organization, they want to get this money off their payroll. I mean, that's a lot of dough he's got left. So sitting in the minors, I don't know how that's going to work out. But San Jose's biggest issue right now, and somehow being in the hunt for the playoffs, I didn't see that coming, was Tomas Hertl is a stud, and he's a UFA. So I don't know if he's going to get dealt or get signed, but that's their real worry, I would say.
And it goes without saying, too, like what you were saying, Whit, like, obviously you want the guy to be in a state of mind to where he can, like, worry about. Sometimes his, like, skill and how good he is kind of clouds our judgment. Is like, if the guy's not, like, ready to go back and play hockey yet, go worry about, like, life in general and get that sorted before you come back and play some hockey.
Well said, Biz. I know we talk about this guy a lot, and, we don't wish him any ill will at all. It's like we hope this guy can figure it out and get his life on track because he's a hell of a talent. And, I just want to reiterate that. We're not rooting against this guy. He's a story. He keeps popping up because he keeps making news. But we'd love nothing more than this guy get his head on straight and to succeed as a hockey player.
It's like the AB situation and what Tom Brady said. It's like, now AB is still going on these podcasts, like trashing Tom Brady. And that's kind of what I went back to the leadership portion of it. It's like, obviously, with the issues that he had even before he got to Tampa, Brady was willing to say, like, listen, this guy's obviously made a lot of mistakes, but maybe when he's made them, he hasn't felt the love, like, hey, we all make them, and then it just kind of get boiled over. Now, the other side of the coin is Michael Tomlin should get, like, a Nobel Peace Prize for how he's able to juggle all the people that have been through Pittsburgh and the drama and all that, but yet maintain 15 straight winning seasons. So that's kind of a little bit of a side note. But it's like an AB situation where you're like, all you want this person to do is get to a place where there's no chaos. Because you could just see that there's chaos. And we all know that when life's like that, yeah, we get that it gets there sometimes, but when it's constant, like, eventually, like, things can go pretty sideways.
Did you have something?
No doubt. Yeah, Bo Hurdle,
I was just going to say, at what point do you guys think he cuts his losses and just goes over the KHL? Is he even allowed to do that?
He's going to need money.
I would
but
imagine
he's
that's
going to see if he
happening.
can get a deal over here. But I don't know. He's got a lot of demons going on right now. And the AB situation, the one thing that cracks me up is this guy's saying he's too injured to play. He's doing jumping jacks as he ran off the field. So AB's definitely got some issues, but I find it kind of crazy that people are so afraid to just call AB a complete asshole. Like he's got some serious issues. I think he's also a complete goon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be both.
Yeah.
It's not black and white on either. Another San Jose note, Mark-Edward Vlasic was basically, for all intents and purposes, a healthy scratch for the first time in his career. He had missed only 77 games in 16 NHL seasons. They were all injury-related back in 2014. He was rested for a game, so it wasn't like a health bomb. He's still got, I think, 4 more years left at $7 million, so this is something to keep an eye on. He's
this
up
is
there.
a Seabrook type deal. Like a guy who'd done so much for your organization for so long, and he was such a durable piece, and you start slowing down a little bit, and all of a sudden that like stay-at-home defenseman is just kind of an average defenseman making $7. And but on the flip side of it, sometimes we've seen it with other guys in the league later in their career. Like remember when Bouwmeester was a healthy scratch in St. Louis, Witt? Sometimes it's more of a respect thing to say, hey, this is how I would treat you if you were playing this way in the prime. You haven't been playing good hockey. So, we're expecting you to work on your game a little bit, refocus, hit the reset button, and come back and
I believe
contribute.
that was the year Josi health bombed him, and then Berube came in. I think that was the same season they won the Cup. And Bouwmeester played an enormous role.
Yeah. Enormous role.
Funny how things turn out. And you just mentioned Tomas Hertl as well. Last year, his deal, he's making $5.625 this year. Again, what kind of raise is this guy looking at? He's only 28 years old. He's in the prime of his career right now. I mean, we're looking at an $8 million player this offseason.
I'm going to say right now, mark it down that the salaries and the term that Hertl get will be similar to Philippe Forsberg. Whatever those two guys sign, they have a lot of similarities, age, skill, size even. So I'm wondering who ends up getting more on the AAV, but we'll see. Both amazing players.
Hertl's a Benajad? Hurdles is a Benajad type money?
I think both of those guys are going to get, if they don't sign with their current teams, they're going to get 7-year deals. They're going to get max deals at their age, and they're going to get $7 to $8 million a year. So maybe a little bit more if they really rip up the playoffs, one of them. But Hertl had the natural hat trick in Philly the other day. They won 3-2. It was a sick game by him.
Hertl, I like Hertl to the Avalanche a lot. I think he's been very vocal about the fact that he wanted out at the beginning of the season. I don't know if that was tying into the drama behind the scenes and the fact that hadn't been resolved yet. I haven't heard much of that, those rumors rumbling as much as I did at the start of the year, but I think that they're going to have to go through a bit of a rebuild process. I don't think that they're in a win now situation, and I think that they get a really good return. If I'm Colorado, and it's Let's be straight about this. Kadri hasn't even been playing like a second-line center. He's been playing like a first-line center this year. Well, you got 2 first centers there. Is it fair as a GM to watch your own back, knowing that maybe this player has a history when the level of play gets a little bit more intense, that the wires cross? How many times has it happened in the postseason? 3 times?
At least twice. Twice against the Bruins on 2 different years, and then last year against the Blues. You're right, 3 times.
3 times now. So I think that what you get concerned about as a general manager, just like you would be as maybe grabbing another goalie, is fucking up with the feng shui and fucking up with the rhythm and maybe where the ice time's getting distributed. But a nice hedge would be to pick up that extra guy up front, because they are already a wagon up front. Like there's no denying they're 12 forwards. They can go against any top. Now you add that to the mix. Well, you're saying, well, what would be the return? Well, I mean, you're in a really win now state, in my opinion, and like Byram, like I think that's a very significant piece, one that definitely gets the conversation started. You just talked about Taves and what he's making for how many years he's making it for. Well, we both know that Girard, like if Byram, all things go well, Byram turns into Girard, right? But you have Girard, but he doesn't even need to be your ace because you got Makar. So it's like you are so stacked on the back end, like you don't need any more resources, and you're even okay if you lose Byram,
tough,
in my
though.
opinion.
Yeah.
Well, you got the. I just think that it's a good hedge up front and it just gives you a little bit more of a security blanket. Now, if I don't know who becomes the third line center, I don't know if Hurdle's the type of guy who move over to the wing, but all of a sudden if you can keep him in that 18-minute range and he's getting his reps, you're fucking just rolling over teams. The way that Pittsburgh won their cups, their last two, were they were so strong down the middle. Strength down the middle of the ice. And take out the back end out of the equation, and like I think fucking RA could play net for them at that point.
I mean, you saw me in Detroit.
Yeah, I saw you in Detroit.
Do it
I think you do well under pressure. So it was just something that was
my moves.
Now, much like a lot of these things, like I don't got a capologist or rocket Scientologist at the table to say, "Hey, does this work?" I think that they got cap room to work with, and I don't think Hurdle's on this ridiculous deal. What's he making?
Yeah.
Just under 6?
5.625. Yeah.
So
Right now,
I don't know.
last-
Just some food for thought. I might be a fucking donkey with another clown nose on me after this one.
I
but you
appreciate
might
join the
the
club.
in-depth look at that. It's just really tough if you're going to talk about them dealing Byram or a guy like Newhook, a young player that really they could stand to lose in Colorado. It's going to be hard to defend that if you're getting a guy that's a UFA. It's really difficult. It's almost like if I'm going to lose one of these young guys, I need a little bit of term.
Yeah.
So who knows?
I mean Newhook and Byram, I think that's a whole.
Well, I was just thinking
conversation.
individually.
I'm
thinking of younger players that kind of get moved.
It's such a good proposition to bring up on the podcast. Like Grinnelli's salivating right now to clip.
What do you got, G?
Well, I was just going to say, Biz, they'd have to send some money out the door because it looks like right now they only have $330,000 in open cap space. So it looks like they'd have to send one of their forwards out the door.
Yeah, and for those of you who off the hop said it's not going to work financially and you just wasted 10 minutes of my life, really apologize about that.
That's all right.
Hey, you see a lot of things get worked out at 3:00 Eastern trade deadline.
Exactly.
Day, buddy. There'll be magic happening.
Those are the same people who told me Eichel to Vegas wouldn't make sense. Well, and Grinnelli's the one who ended up kind of bringing that up to begin with. But then I was like, yeah.
He's pretty close to getting back to Vegas and starting to be with the team. And when he does come back, I'm hearing Riley Smith. I'm looking at Dadonov. I mean, there's going to be guys going out the door there to make room for his $10 million because they do not have room now, and they're going to need to gas some forward. So we'll see what ends up being the move that Vegas has to make to get Eichel in the lineup.
And they are
they don't give a
cutthroat,
fuck.
and they are.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Biz.
Don't apologize at all. Like my wheels are spinning right now, and I don't think if they want to go deep into playoffs, they can get rid of Smith. I don't think they can get rid of Dadonov. I don't think they can get rid of Marchessault. So who's a guy who's making a decent enough of money?
Well, I just thought of Smith and Dadonov. Smith and Dadonov are $10 million combined. So
I think Smith is a Pavelski type. They don't have enough of those guys to.
And he's
to
an
be done
OG
with it, but
knight. He's
who
been
knows?
there since the beginning.
He is.
The front office, they're going to have to decide, and that's a nice little segue to, we got a little front office note for you here. Per Pierre LeBrun, the Habs began reaching out to teams to ask permission to speak to potential GM candidates. He believes they've done so with Roberto Luongo, Daniel Briere, Mathieu Daché, and among others. We'll keep our eyes on that. And this is an interesting note, Biz, that come across Twitter. I think you shared with us. At Eric Macramala, the last time the Canadians had a top 10 NHL points leader was Mats Naslund in 1986. Imagine the Canadians haven't had someone in the top 10 in points since 1986, 36 years. I would have never, ever, ever guessed that. That's
I saw that
bananas.
I saw that on Twitter, and I sent it right over. I said, an opportunity to shit on the Habs? Why not? Right? Why not?
I mean, it's oddly impressive, not in a good way. But
No, I know. But to go back to the burger van.
Oh, yeah. The LA Kings, they brought in the Burger Van in a consulting capacity as senior advisor to general manager Rob Blake. And that brings us to Rob Blake. He just got extended. This is per at Mayor NHL. He covers the Kings. He said that they extended Rob Blake, it's believed to be from 4 to 5 years. So, Blake, the Kings, I think they're slowly getting back on course. They're right in the playoff hunt right now. Their drafting has been phenomenal. So they're obviously keeping Blakey around to keep it rolling. Biz, did you want anything to add before
Agreed. Deserves a little bit more runway here to see how he can turn this team around. Now, adding the Burger Van, like, I mean, he's a great hockey mind. He's been around the game. Say what you will about his body of work in Montreal, but sometimes a little bit of luck plays a part. And I thought he made some good moves there, some not so good ones. I think that maybe one of the bigger criticisms before last year's run was that he'd given Carey Price the money that he did. But I mean, Christ, how many GMs during their tenure get to go to a cup final? So right away, like, you kind of look at it like that's, in my opinion, justified. He got it there. And sometimes when you don't get those high-end picks, they ended up drafting Kotkaniemi. I got that out pretty clean, didn't I? They get him at 3rd overall. And from a guy who's been in an organization like Arizona, like those 1 and 2s really sometimes can make a difference. The Eichels, the Matthews. And he was never really able to get that first-line center. So with all that not so much success in Montreal, I think he very much deserves a second chance. And as I said, he's a great hockey mind and a good guy to have around. And I'm sure it's just going to add to that artillery.
I saw that, and I think a lot of people saw it and thought, what's going on? Is this the next GM possibly? And then Blake, I think that day or the next day, gets the extension. So that's definitely not the case where Bergevin's brought in to be the GM there. But there's a connection with Luc Robitaille. They go a long way back. And I don't know. I mean, Marc Bergevin made some big trades. And I don't think a big trade's really been made by Rob Blake in L.A., not the one I could think of. Who knows? Maybe this year they look to make a mid-season deal to bring some help in. I feel like making the playoffs there is pretty important. And this year with what's gone on the past few years. So also looking at Montreal just quickly, like I don't think it's crazy to think we're looking at possibly a dark, gloomy future of the Montreal Canadiens. Like, I don't see when the hell they're going to be good. They got some older players. Price is older. It's like that could be a disgusting next 5-6 years. I don't know what happens in Montreal, but LA is looking different. They're on their way up. They got some nice young players. They still got Doughty playing good hockey. Kopitar's had a great year. It'd be pretty cool to see them get into the playoffs, I think.
Well, all this general manager talk, boys, it's probably the perfect time to bring on Billy G. We mentioned it last week when we were in Minnesota. This guy, just class personified, had us over for an interview, grilled us up a bunch of steaks and had a bunch of drinks, and just an awesome time. So we're going to send it over to Billy Guerin. But first, we do want to let you know that this interview is brought to you by our friends at Roman, the online men's health company that takes care of the fellas. And they already changed the game with Roman Swipes, the secret to longer-lasting sex. Never mind memorizing shit or thinking about old, ugly teachers that you had to keep you lasting longer on the rack. Just grab some Roman Swipes. They're a clinically proven way to last longer in bed. They're effective, easy to use, and fast-acting. And the best part, they do not require a prescription. Roman can ship swipes to you in discreet, unmarked packaging, and each swipes packet is small enough to hide in your wallet for whenever you need it. They are super easy to use. You know the drill by now. You just take the swipes out of the packet, you swipe it on, make sure to let it dry, and you're good to go. That's it. So go to GetRoman.com/chiclets and you get your first month of swipes for just $5 when you choose a monthly plan. That's GetRoman.com/chiclets. And now, enjoy Billy G. Well, it's a huge pleasure to welcome our next guest. He's been in the NHL in some capacity for about 30 years now. He spent 18 seasons with 8 franchises, playing in over 1,400 regular season and playoff games. He won a Stanley Cup with the 95 Devils and one with the 09 Penguins, and he was elected to the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame in 2013. After retiring, he joined the Penguins front office and added 2 more cups to his resume. And these days, he's the general manager of the Minnesota Wild. Thanks so much for having us at your beautiful home and for joining us on the Spittin Chiclets podcast, Billy Guerin. How's it going, my friend?
It's going great. Thanks for making the trip out here.
Absolutely. Our pleasure.
Suitcase.
A long time coming.
Suitcase.
Suitcase.
8 teams.
Like Brent Ashton over there.
8 teams.
He's got
But
helmets,
they were
jerseys
all
everywhere.
in the NHL, Biz. you had more teams in a different league.
Okay, all right. Is that how we're going to start out here? Oh, baby.
All my teams were the show, he said, Biz.
We got 2 hours, Billy G. Don't worry about it. Maybe 2.5. We're going to go Star Wars style.
He's like, wait, what? I thought this was 50 minutes. Get out of my house.
Contract said 50 minutes.
So how you adjusting to the Midwest lifestyle?
You know what? It's been great. I mean, Minnesota's been awesome. Like, just from job perspective, living perspective. Like, my kids we have one my one daughter here full time, but all the kids love it. They all made friends here real quick, and my wife loves it. Everything's been really good. Like nothing negative. It's awesome.
When you retired from the game, you got right into, front office things with Pittsburgh. Did you know right away, like, not only do I have to stay in the game, but I don't want it to be coaching. I want to be in the front office. I want to be building teams. Was that something you knew right away after retirement?
I knew I had to stay in the game. I knew I wasn't one of those guys that could just, first of all, I'm not a very good golfer, but, I can't just hang around. I can't just play golf. I have to do something. Like, you know what, for my mental health, like, somewhere to put my energy, somewhere to put my anger, somewhere to put my, there wasn't that was the void after playing. There's nothing to do.
Nothing.
So life's gets pretty empty, and I just knew I was going to have to do something. I knew it was either going to be coaching or management. And when I started, I started in player development, and I got to do a little bit of everything. That kind of helped steer me in the direction of management. But GM was always kind of a goal.
Yeah. Well, I'll start there. You started in player development. Like, you look back and say, that's probably exactly where I should have started in order to kind of get to where you are now.
Yeah, to 100%. I mean, that is the greatest job in hockey. That's probably the most coveted job in hockey, that everybody wants to do, player development in some fashion. And I absolutely loved it. It was the best. It was, I spent a ton of time in Wilkes-Barre. I spent a ton of time traveling around, kind of learning the ins and outs of scouting and just finding your way around these junior rinks, college rinks, just learning the business. And then, because I broke in with Pitt and Ray Shiro was there, and I was allowed to go to the pro scout meetings, the amateur scout meetings, the draft, free agency, July 1, all that stuff. So, I'm fresh off the ice, and you guys know how it is. When you're a player, you worry about yourself, and, you prepare yourself for the season, for the game, for all that stuff. But when you get into management, there's so much more. And people always told me too, as a GM, you don't really know how much there is until you sit in the chair, and that's the truth.
Were you surprised you got a GM gig before you turned 50? I mean, I know you paid your dues, but I think a few people might have, a little surprised you got it so young.
No offense.
No. I mean, no.
I think he likes to start.
Like the young guy.
There's some people that surprised I got it at all. But
there you go.
No, it was kind of a goal. That when I set out, I wanted to do the things that I felt I needed to do to make myself better, and to when I did get a job eventually, that I would stay there for a long time. That I wouldn't be like a kind of a flash in the pan. Like, so it was, everybody's different, but I started traveling around more. My weekends were gone. And I missed a lot of stuff with my kids again. And, we all sacrificed, and, it paid off, because now, honestly, I have a phenomenal job. Like, I love my job. It's absolutely great.
Well, you've made a team that I notoriously called pretty boring, pretty exciting to watch. I mean, it's true. It's like, I think getting into that is something we want to get into later, because more importantly, the career you had is what we're really interested in. And we'll go back to the beginning like we do with everyone, but you got into the game, Massachusetts guy, somebody I really looked up to. Like, was it your dad who got you in the game? What was your beginning into hockey?
No, it was actually my mom. I know you guys have had Gomer on. My mom's from Nicaragua, and they don't have a ton of hockey down there.
No.
But she, my dad was out, he was working every day, but my mom needed something for me to do in the winter, because I had a lot of energy as a kid, and she had a friend that just said, bring him ice skating. And she did that, and I just fell in love with it. So my mom actually got me started. And then it just kind of started going from there, and instructional hockey out in Western Mass. And then, they put me on a team with, played for my town and just started.
Growing up 8, 9, 10 years old, were you always one of the better players, or was it something where you were slower developing? Like, what was your whole role as like a youngster in the game?
You know what?
You can be cocky. It's okay if you were really good.
Yeah, no, I was not my first couple years, but then as I started to go, then it just started to kind of kick in, and
yeah. And for me, like growing up, it's high school hockey. It's changed in Massachusetts. I think Minnesota's the best at that, but you always played junior, like everyone played prep school and stuff like that. Like, how was it that you never ended up at one of those, New England prep schools?
Well, we were really lucky. It was so my mentor, my coach back then was a guy named Gary Deneen. Gary was from Montreal. He played he played for Toronto, for St. Mike's in Toronto. He played for the Canadian Olympic team. And he ended up playing in the LA organization. And they had a American League team in Springfield for a short time. And he played there and ended up settling there. So what he did was he started his own junior team. And summertime he had a hockey school, wintertime he had the junior team. But he knew how to run it. He knew how to run it like a Canadian junior team. So, I mean, we didn't have any money nothing was fancy.
But the way he coached you and ran it.
The way he coached, the way he emphasized practice, the way he made us dress up, like the accountability, he checked, everything. It was a full package thing. Like he suspended me for 2 weeks one time because my grades were so bad. Like him,
I'm a hockey player, Gary.
Him and my dad got together, and they're like, "Yeah, he's not doing well." Like he's like, "All right, Guerin, you're shut down for 2 weeks." So, it was a complete package, and it was kind of crazy because we played at the Big E, the Eastern States Exposition, like great old rink where the Springfield Indians used to play, but the high school teams used to get all the prime ice slots for practice. So, Longmeadow would practice, then East Longmeadow, then, Agawam would practice. And
I got 50 goals in 10 games.
And then, we were the Springfield Olympics, but we're called the Picks. So then the Picks would practice. So our practices were at like 11:30 at night. So come home, do my homework, shoot some pucks, take a nap, get up, go to practice, come back and wake up, go to school and do it all over again. But we practiced all the time. It wasn't, I don't want to say he didn't care about the games. It was a development. It was a practicing. We practiced, an hour and a half, every night. And it was phenomenal. It was great.
Before that, had you ever thought about playing pro hockey before you ever went to Springfield?
Since I can remember.
You were like, that
was it.
And was it Bruins?
Bruins all the way. The Bees all the way.
That's awesome.
I used to, the game would come on.
Cusack and Sanderson?
I'd have a stick. I'd have a tennis ball. I'd make a net out of the sofa cushions, and I'd be watching Terry O'Reilly and Rick Middleton and, Jean Rattel and all these guys, Brad Park. It was the best. I don't know what I would be doing if I didn't play hockey.
So given you talk about your after your playing career and how hyper focused you got on becoming a GM, is that similar to kind of becoming a player in the National Hockey League? That's why you ended up going over to Springfield. Now, did you already have that offer for Boston College on the table when you went over to Springfield?
No, because So I played all my high school years in Springfield. And
living at home the whole time.
I lived at home the whole time. I went to local prep school right in my town, Wilbraham Munson Academy. It was
valedictorian, right?
Yes, valedictorian.
Yeah.
Yes, they. Yeah,
that's an actual fact.
Yeah, he's valedictorian. He had a 4.1.
That's a bonus. You got your Boston humor is going over my head already in this interview.
We know.
Sorry, I interrupted
But it was, I don't know what I was talking about. But so I lived at home the whole time. And then back then, and the kids today, they commit so young, they miss out. I took 5 recruiting trips.
Yeah.
That was like the best time.
Where else?
I went to BC, BU, Providence, Maine, and Michigan State. and it was unbelievable. Everyone got better and better and better.
Oh yeah, they're putting all the red carpet for you.
Yeah, it was great. And then I committed to BC my senior year. Yeah, I mean, it was much, much different back then, you know.
And you were taken fifth by New Jersey, 89 draft. Were you actually here in Minnesota for it? The draft was here.
Yeah, I was. I was at the old Met Center where the Mall of America is now.
Did you have a preference where you want to go? I mean, New Jersey was kind of coming along a little at the time, but were you hoping to maybe go somewhere else at the time, or you didn't care?
No, I didn't care. I was kind of naive, too. I didn't really – I'm like they're telling me I'm going to go, like, pretty early in this draft. Like, is that for real?
Did you get drafted out of the picks or freshman year?
Out of the picks.
Oh, yeah. So
which was really out of left field. And, like, everybody was like, where? Like, who? What?
Who is this guy?
Yeah. And, they took me fifth, and it was actually – it was a great place for me to start. It was just awesome. Like, the Devils were unbelievable. So I was thrilled.
And then you go to BC. I mean, everybody knows about Jerry York, legendary coach. But before him, Lenny Seglaski. He's a guy who broke you in. What did he mean to you as a coach? How did he help your game in college?
Yeah. Well, Steve Cedorchuk really recruited me.
Okay.
I mean, he was, you know, doing all the recruiting for them back then. And Lenny ended up coming to my house for dinner, which I guess was a big deal. Because we lived way out in Western Mass.
You didn't go past Worcester.
Yeah, he didn't go past Worcester, yeah. But it was, you know, and I just love BC. I fell in love with BC. You know, I was like 14 years old when Doug Flutie threw the Hail Mary pass. And, you know, it was just a perfect fit. So it was great 2 years. I tell the kids, I said, I graduated in 2 years. Let's see if you can do that.
and my salary coming out of school was amazing.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
before taking these trips, though, had you already made up your mind? Like, did you know where you were going?
No.
You would go on these just, you know, looking to have a good time, have a few pops, get to meet the crew, and then.
Well, I definitely did that.
Yeah.
And you know, so when I visited Michigan State, I stayed with Rod Brindamore.
You guys worked out.
Yeah, it worked out for fucking 6 days. He's like, get me the fuck out of here.
He's giving him protein shakes. He's like, sick visit, dude.
Protein shakes didn't even exist back then.
No, Brindamore made his own.
He made his own.
Yeah.
Roddy made his own.
Yeah.
But we had a great time. We've been buddies ever since too. It's Jimmy Cummins was on that team. They were stacked.
They were loaded then.
They were
Ron Mason, right? Was the coach?
Yeah, Ron Mason was the coach. You know, they had Kip Miller.
Yeah.
Kip Miller was an unbelievable college hockey player. Like, he was incredible. They were stacked. They were loaded. Jason Muzzati was playing net for them. It was awesome. It was a great trip. I almost went.
After 2 years, like sophomore year ended, it was pretty evident. I mean, you had a huge sophomore year looking at the numbers. It was time to go. Like, let's give this thing a shot.
Lou made him.
It was really funny because, you know, there were no player development guys back then. You just figured it out.
There weren't even any, I think, when Biz and I came up.
No, you guys are getting old.
Yeah, no shit. I guess that's bad. Fuck.
So back then, you know, you get drafted. You know, if you're a Canadian junior kid, you go right to camp. And, like, so the Devils, they just didn't say anything. So, like, they knew I was going to BC, didn't really hear from them at all. So my sophomore year, we get beat out by Alaska Anchorage in the NCAA. So it was a huge upset. And, you know, so we went out after the game and blew off some steam and had a couple beers and, you know, woke up the next morning and wasn't feeling too hot, but my phone rang at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I said, hello. And
this is a landline.
This is a landline. And the voice on the other line said, Billy, it's Lou Lamoriello. I'm like, who the hell is this? Like, stop. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, and he's like, Billy, it's Lou Lamoriello. We got to talk about the next part of your career. And I was like, oh, wow, this really is Lou. How did you get this number? Like, hadn't heard from him wherever, but I called my dad. I'm like, Dad, like, Lou called. This could be it.
Wow.
So that was.
It was obvious that it was time to go.
It was time to go. Yeah, it was time to go. And but it honestly, like, sitting now, like, doing player development, being a GM now, I see the importance of players in college getting to that level. So many guys leave too early. After my first year, it would have been too early. After my second year, it was good timing.
It goes back to like even watching high school kids now. Like, why ever move up a level until you truly dominate the level you're at? And
Yes.
that kind of was what you finally did.
You have to dominate.
And as the Devils go, I mean, you go back to like pretty much all their prospects. You got to spend a little time in the minors, and that was no different for you. I mean, you were in Utica, I think.
Yeah. I went from BC. We had a national team that year before the was it France? Yeah, Albertville. So we played all year from August up to the Olympics as a national team. We traveled all over the country, all over the world. It was a blast.
That's all. Any other NHL guys ever on that team that made it?
Big
for
Walt.
Chuck, yeah. Chuck.
Walt
Walt was on. You guys were traveling the world together?
Yeah, he was my roommate.
Oh, boy.
Nobody else wanted to room with him or me, so they put us together.
Bosom
eventually.
buddies.
It was. We had the best
They did
time.
a beer tasting worldwide clinic.
It was. We had the best time. We'd spent a ton of time up in St. Cloud, and we spent time in, like Cromwell, Connecticut had a new rink. We spent a bunch of time there, but most of our time as a home rink, like to practice, we spent in St. Cloud, and we just had a great time. I mean, there are a bunch of guys: Scotty LeChance, Scotty Young, Marty McGinnis, Stevie Hines. Tons of guys. It was great.
Was it like a culture shock getting to the NHL though, especially with the New Jersey Devils? You step in from college scene, and all of a sudden it's like a pretty buttoned up organization where it's almost like a little bit robotic.
Yeah, it wasn't like that though. Like I think everybody from the outside thinks it's robotic, and it's not. I had a great time. It was all I knew, but like. I had great teammates. We had a ton of fun, and we won. And you know what? Like you got to sacrifice somewhere along the line. You can't just freewheel it and do anything you want. You got to have some discipline. You got to have some accountability, and you got to make sacrifices. And that's what we did in New Jersey.
And there's still time for the fun outside.
Yeah,
that.
we had oh my God, we had the best guys. Like it was awesome. You know what? We had a really tight team. We drank a lot of beer together and hung out, and it was awesome.
Was there like a first Lou moment? Scotty Gomez talked about the time that he sent him to the Boss concert, Bruce Springsteen. Like, was there a moment where he kind of tried to, did he do anything to kind of
announce his presence with authority?
Like get you to sign a stick on the way in from curfew or something?
No. I don't have any stories like that. Like, it was pretty funny though, because I got cut from that national team.
No shit.
Yeah, the day we were going over to the Olympics, me and Walt were packing our bags, and I got the call, and they let me go.
Oh, shit.
Oh, it was brutal. So I go home for a couple days. Then Lou calls, he's like, "Hey, look, we gotta get going here." So he flew into Bradley Airport, and I went there with my buddy from home. My dad, my uncle, and Lou had a room at the Sheraton Hotel there. I signed my contract, and he had Dr. McMullen's plane. Dr. McMullen used to own the Devils. I'm like, whoo, this is big time, like private jet, like, whoo, New Jersey, here I come. And it was like, ooh, see you, kid. He dropped me off in Utica. I was like, yeah, he's like,
we're making a stop, sir, exactly. To the pilot.
It was, yeah, I was like, oh man,
should have took the chopper,
going to the show, and it was like right to Utica.
What did the coach say? Who coached that team that cut you from that Olympic team?
Dave Peterson.
Just like
what are you gonna say?
Yeah,
just
sucks though.
You gotta let somebody go.
At least they didn't win the gold like Herb Brooks in '60.
Well, I tell you, it was unbelievable because Herb was my coach in Utica.
Yeah.
No shit.
When I got there,
yeah.
And
Wow.
And, I got to Utica, there were like two reporters, and he chased them away. He's like, "You're not going to, you leave this kid alone, and he's been through enough, and blah, blah, blah." So he protected me. He was awesome to have. Like, he was great.
Wow. I didn't know that. He knew what you were going through.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did.
Now, when you played, I think, 18 or so games before Jersey called you up. Now, Pepe was a big guy on the Devils at the time. Clothed him. What were your
Led the
initial
team in
thoughts
scoring
on
that
him?
year.
Pepe, I think he scored 40 that year. He was awesome. I'm still good friends with him. I played 5 years with him. He's great. You know what? He would do anything to win.
Legit.
Like anything. And he just loved winning. He just wanted to win. And like I learned a lot from guys like that. Like, I mean, I didn't know anything about life in the NHL. Like nothing. And you know what? I had him. I had John McClain, Scott Stevens, Bruce Driver, Kenny Danico, Randy McKay.
You're listening to every word these guys are saying.
Yeah, Stefan Richer, like all these guys that have been around and been all-stars and, won Stanley Cups already. I'm like, this is incredible. Like, I'm just, I'm just soaking it all in.
Yeah.
They were unreal.
Did they break you in at all? I don't say hazing, but things were a lot different like 30 years ago. What kind of things would they do to break you in as a rookie? Bust your balls?
Didn't.
You weren't first in line at team meals.
No. When I got out of line, it was like, hey, and it like Scotty wouldn't even say anything. He'd just look. I'd be, sorry, because I was kind of loud. Sometimes the rookie
who would
thing.
they stick you with as a roommate?
You know what? I had Val Zelapukin, and he was an awesome guy. Like we were roommates for like 2.5 years. He ended up when I got traded to Edmonton, he got thrown in the deal too. He was so pissed at me. He was so mad.
Thanks, Billy.
Oh, it was unbelievable. We were flying into Edmonton. He didn't say a word to me the whole time. Not the whole flight. And we're flying in, and it's January. It's all white outside, like snow. It's freezing cold. All of a sudden, he just snaps. He's like, Billy, what the fuck are you doing? You could have stayed in New Jersey the whole time and this and that. He's like, and now I have to come to Edmonton. I'm like, well, sorry. But he was a great roommate, and roomed with Bobby Holik for a couple nights, and I couldn't take it anymore. He just ate the whole time. But he was good. We had unbelievable guys. Like we really did. It was an awesome team.
Well, the team in '94, like you're a part of that brutal Game 7 loss, and the next year you come back, you guys end up winning it. Was the whole year like pretty focused? Like we're gonna get the job done. Like we were, next step, here we come. Like that's a Stanley Cup team from that whole season because you're enormous underdogs going into that final, right?
Yeah, huge underdogs. It was. The funny thing about that Devils team is that everybody says, well, they didn't have any stars. We had stars. You know what? Scott Stevens was a star. Scott Niedermayer was a star already. Marty Brodeur was becoming one, but like Stefan Richer, Claude Lemieux, John McClain, these guys all played in all-star games, scored 40, 50 goals. They had won Stanley Cups. Like they just maybe weren't like the marquee names. Like, that Detroit team was pretty stacked too, and they just kept, they just kept getting better, and we were really good.
Yep.
Like we played that system to a T, and we did whatever we had to do, and Jacques Lemaire was, with all due respect to all my other coaches, Jacques Lemaire is hands down the best coach I ever had. He was unreal.
Dialed in, huh?
He was dialed in. But you're talking about a guy with 11 Stanley Cups, a Hall of Fame career. He had done everything. So he was going to do things on his terms. He did not care.
He'd bench a star.
He did not care. He cared about one thing, winning. That was it. Oh, you had 3 goals last game? Great. You stink tonight. You're sitting. Like, that's the way it was. Like, you're having a good game, you'll go on the power. Like, we didn't have set power plays.
No shit, it would change that often.
Yeah, like, if you're going well that night, you're going to play. If you're not going well, and we talked, like, we had a 20-year reunion in '95, and he was unbelievable, just kind of telling us everything, like, and he's like,
you got to hold your cards to you pretty close as a coach, right?
Yeah.
So then after all these years, he's like, this is what was going through my head during the time.
Yeah, he's like, Billy? That was Billy tonight. He's not going to help us win tonight, so I'm not going to play him much. I was like, that's what it was.
Oh, that's why I never saw the ice. Eh?
I should have stopped.
I thought I had a great first shift.
I should have stopped in the D zone, and I should not have turned that puck over.
Yep.
But that's the way it was, and it was game to game, and he was an amazing coach, and he told us that night too. We were asking him all sorts of questions, and he said, "You know what? The coach has the most powerful thing in the game, and that's ice time. And if you give me what I want, I'll give you what you want, and I'll put you on the ice. But if you don't, I won't put you out there." And I'm like, "Ooh, that makes sense."
Sorry.
I wish I knew that 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it worked out. It was great.
Was he responsible for implementing that whole, like, whether you want to call it the trap, the left wing lock, whatever? Was that all Jacques Lemaire? Did he do that in cahoots with Lou to sort of build the roster? How did that all kind of play out?
I mean, I don't know how. I think he was, and Larry Robinson too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's behind the scenes.
Right.
So if Lou was involved in that, I don't know. But the whole part of like Lou's accountability and the professionalism, he's got this great saying, we don't have a lot of rules, but the ones we have, we follow, and we followed them to a T. And then Jock's, hockey knowledge and things like that. I think it was just a perfect storm. It was great.
Not to bring up that Game 7 again, the Mateau game, but was that the toughest loss you had as a professional, the Game 7 double OT loss?
Yeah, that was a tough one. That was, I mean, but like I look back now and I'm like, oh my God, what a series. Like it was just to be able to play in that was
like
cool.
I've said it
like,
before. I
just
fell in love with the game. Sorry to interrupt. That series and that whole like 2-year stretch was amazing.
Yeah, and that was a war. That was a battle. Those two teams just did not like each other. It was great hockey. It really was.
How'd you sleep before Game 4 and when you guys won it though? I mean, like you guys, like he said, like Detroit
better than he slept after they won it.
The Detroit like was favored, and then you guys end up going to sweep them. Like you like I'm gonna fucking end up living my childhood dream here, lift the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, it was. Didn't sleep well. I mean, like the night before, you're fine, but like that afternoon, you're just and the same thing. Like Game 7 in Pitt, like
Well, 14 years later, right?
14, your third. That's the third longest that somebody's won from winning the stretch. 14
Chelly
years.
and Rex. Chelly and Recchi. Yeah, it was, you think you're going to, when you're 24 and you win,
I know.
Probably win like 7 or 8 of these things, no problem.
Was there like a
14 years later, not a sniff.
Was there a vet in the locker room that ended up saying something between one of the periods that was like, wow, this is fucking sick. We're about to do this thing.
No. It was, you could hear a pin drop. Nobody say
even Game 4, just after the second intermission right there, you're just everyone's silent.
Yep. And then, and then I guess that my recollection of it was like looking down the bench and seeing Mikey Peluso, and he's crying, he's bawling his eyes out, and it was awesome. It was great. He couldn't even play anymore. Like he was, and I'm like, wow, holy shit, this is really going to happen. And then, it was incredible. Then
you ended up in a commercial.
Huh?
And then you ended up in a commercial.
Yeah.
The Cup commercials all those years later.
Yeah. I know that I love that commercial. That's a good one.
Yeah, you guys steamrolled to that one. 16-4, you outbeat the opposition. Not outscored them. What am I thinking of? When 16 wins to 4.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But how are you guys not only able to beat Detroit? That team had 7 Hall of Fames, but you swept them. Like, what did you guys do that was able to beat them so handily? Such a good team.
Well, I don't know. I think our system was so new. We hadn't played them that year because it was a lockout year.
Oh yeah, that's
right. And I think we just shocked them. I think we just took them by surprise, and we won the 2 games in Detroit. And by then, it was almost like it was too late.
Almost like they underestimated you guys, perhaps a little bit.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And we were legit. Like we were good.
Were.
I think being on the team, you look at it like we were better than everyone. Like, that's how we
Yeah.
beat them. You know what I mean? Like, I think
Yeah.
that their Hall of Famers changed everyone's perception. But, 2 years later, you're talking about the trade. It's hard because, like, everyone's first time getting dealt. It's like, oh, my God, especially winning a cup. I'm going to be here forever. Like, how did you find out? Initial thought, like, where you were going? Like, take me through your reaction to that.
Well, I was looking for more. I think one thing that happened with that team was like, we missed the playoffs the next year. And then things just started, there were some chinks in the armor and things were starting to fall apart a little bit. And then, I went to the 96 World Cup, had a great experience with that. So I started to want a little bit more, which is, I think for a young player, I think it's natural.
I'm not a third liner type thing.
Yeah. And I was on that team, and I wanted to see how good I could be. And, so I had a contract holdout. I ended up just, asking for a trade. And this is how Lou operates, and it was great. He called me to his room and he said, "Hey, look, what's going on? What's the problem? You okay?" And it was just a very honest conversation. I just said, I think I need a change. And he's like, "Okay." You know what? He's like, "That makes sense." That a week later, I was gone.
Probably hard to say, though. You must have been a little nervous.
It was tough to say because I love that team. You know what? Those are all my buddies and my guys. We won the cup. 2 years before.
It was rare for maybe not around that time, but it was rare for players to trade teams back then, especially like New Jersey Devils, as like you guys had established yourself. It was rare for guys to kind of get out of their teams. No. Yeah. It was a little. Yeah, free agency wasn't what it was, now, or what it is now. Guys didn't jump around as much, but I don't know. I just felt like I needed to kind of see what else was out there. And, Lou acted quick, and, I was, still, even though I asked for the trade when it happened, I was really shocked. How old was Kayla? I think Kayla was like 6 months old or something, maybe 4 months old. And she's like, "Where are we going?" I'm like, "We're going to Edmonton." She's like, "Where's that?" Siberia.
Yeah. I'm like, "It's going to be cold."
Well, he knew, I'm guessing he knew, the type of player you're going to be because he gets you out of the conference. I'm not dealing with this guy, right? He's sending you out west.
Yeah. There was, he sent me pretty far, but.
The good news is that's where you met Doug Waite, though, right?
I met Waiter. I had known Waiter years for years before that, just from like USA Hockey stuff. And
is he are you guys same age?
Yeah. And
wow, so all the national
teams. And the World Cup. Actually, I'm a year older than him because our birthdays. So I played in the World Juniors in like 89 and 90, and he played in 91, I think.
Okay.
But that's where we played together, and it was the best. Like Waiter's just he's just the greatest.
Was it hard going to a Canadian market? Like, did you feel a lot more pressure? Like you were in the news and media a lot more, or back then it wasn't really like that?
No, I didn't feel the pressure. I knew it was bigger. I mean, I got there, and like somebody hands me their baby to take a picture with them, and I'm like.
Yeah, the McDavid treatment, like in the airport.
And then the next day, I'm on the cover of the paper. I'm like, it's not even the sports page; it's the paper.
Yeah,
like it, and it was different. It was different.
You mentioned the 96 World Cup. I mean, I know you played the Olympics as well, but was that World Cup in 96 the best tournament you ever played in just the caliber of play?
Yeah. That was unbelievable. It was. I mean, the series against Canada was like the dirtiest, fastest,
it was so
skilled
dirty,
hockey. God.
Dude, it was like an NHL playoff game, which makes sense, I guess.
Witt said there was a European division. Now, is that true?
Didn't that tournament have games in Europe at the beginning?
Yeah, I think that's the way it works.
Wow, okay.
But I do remember, like we played Russia, and I want to say Slovakia at Madison Square Garden. So I think they played over there
in there. Must have been nuts.
Yeah. For the Russian game, it was definitely. But the tournament was great. It was just, I mean, like I said, the games against Canada were definitely the highlights. Like the other games were great and good and everything, but that was we could never beat them before, and we finally did. We were finally pushing back, and it was a blast. We had a bunch of characters on that team too. That was a team of beauties, just awesome guys. So much fun.
Did you? Sorry, Ari. Did you? You and Dougie Weight play together that tournament? Was there a connection almost to where Edmonton might have said, let's get this guy over? These two have had some...
No, I played with, and this is kind of how it went for that tournament, and then, the 3 Olympics. It was Madano, Kachuk, and me.
Decent.
Yeah, it was good.
You guys are trying to catch up to Mo, though.
They punted me when it was power play time. I cheered them on from the bench for power play time.
Holly got your spot?
Yeah, Holly got. But Holly, Dougie played with Holly. I forget who else. Maybe Tony Monty, maybe. That team was just every guy on that team was a character. They were just, from Chelios to Suter and. Dougie and every guy was Brian Leach. Brian Leach was unreal.
That guy was so good.
I had played against him all the time, Devils Rangers and stuff. And then we were practicing before the tournament, and I'm like, holy shit. Brian Leach is way better than I thought he was.
Yeah.
Just to be, who else was great? Adam Deadmarsh. His career got cut short, but
he was tough.
He was and a great guy too. Matthew Schneider, all these guys are just absolute beauties. Mike Richter was.
I was going to say, you got to mention Richter when you talk about 96.
Ricky was out of his mind that tournament.
Was that the best you've ever seen a goalie? Sorry, at that level.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the highest level of goaltending I've ever seen. He was that save on Vincent Damphus. Was just I don't know if you guys remember. It was just crazy.
Did you feel a little bit different after you guys had pulled that off? When you would walk around Boston, did you feel like you like everybody's name had just grown even bigger and the game had gotten bigger as far as at least American eyes were concerned?
I felt like we did something. We knew we did something special because if you look at Canada's roster, that was a wagon.
Oh, everyone.
They were stacked.
Were you partly intimidated, or were you no, fuck this, we're going in there, we're going to punch him in the jaw?
We couldn't be. That was our, for guys like me and Keith and Darian Hatcher, Kevin Hatcher, Johnny LeClaire, Deadmarsh, Joel Otto. That was why we were there. We were there to push back. So, yeah, you're a little... I'm like, oh crap, I got to go fight Keith Primo again. Get my head pounded in. All right, I'll do it. It's for the country. For the country.
America.
Yeah. Oh, man. It was worth the black eyes and all that stuff. It was great. We knew it. That was, and we had a good feeling for right off the bat. The team got close. That. And we're so close. A lot of guys.
You mentioned Hall. Was he the guy in the locker room who was that superstar who really created that levity in the locker room?
Holly,
the one-liners, right?
It's this funny cockiness that just a lot of people can't get away with.
He's the best complainer I've ever heard in my life. Oh God, the bus times at this, and God, that's stupid.
So kind of Phil Kessel-like.
Yeah, they are very much alike. And then Holly would he was so confident. He'd walk in the room and be like, oh, all right, I got to start acting like that a little more. I got to be that. And then he was scoring the biggest goals too, and Chelios, I think he came late. Somebody was getting married in his family, I think. So he was like, I'll be there in a couple of days. I'm like, wow.
That's power.
I'm scared. I went a night early on my own dime. It was, but yeah, I learned a lot there too, because just first of all, the guys, like, don't let them fool you. They worked really hard. Like, all these superstar players, like, they worked hard. But just the confidence that they had was unreal.
Did Hull in the locker room joke around at all about people insulting him for the fact that he was Canadian born, but then playing for an American team? Like, was that at all talked about through the tournament?
No, we knew he made the right choice.
Yeah. Shit. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. No, he's Holly's a good friend, and God, he's just so funny.
Well, the reason I say that is because the last 2 games moved back to Canada, and you upsetting him on Canadian soil. So I know that he dealt with a lot of criticism.
Fans,
they were
media.
nasty.
Yeah,
to him, weren't they?
God, they were nasty. Yeah, they were brutal. Like, we were walking. We stayed at the Marriott right there, that Chateau Champlain, and we walked over to the Bell Center, and it was like carloads of people, like, hanging out the windows at us, like
Screaming at you.
You're gonna die. You're gonna get your ass kicked. You're gonna do this. We're like, oh my, wow, this is a big one.
It's like Primo on his way into the ring.
So a few years in Edmonton, you get traded to Boston. Now, what are the circumstances of that? Do you know that's coming? Is that something you wish for? Did that come out of the blue?
No, I was totally blindsided by that.
Okay.
But they knew the money.
Yeah, so
right.
You still had a couple years left on the deal, right?
I had one. That was my final year. So Dougie Waite and Ryan Smith and I were aligned, and we were playing really well. We were all, it was mid-November, late November. We were all pretty high up in scoring, and things were going great. Like, it was, so we go to my wife and I, we've got 2 little kids. Kayla's my daughter's, I don't know, she's 2 or something. And, we take her to the mall, and she's doing skating lessons. My daughter Grace is in a stroller. So my wife's like, I'm going to go shopping or whatever. And she tools around the mall for a little while. And I'm standing there watching my daughter Kayla ice skate. And there's this guy, and he's just kind of looking at me. And I'm like, what?
What's up,
How
man?
you doing? He goes, no, I didn't think you'd be here. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, I just didn't think you'd be at the mall. I'm like, just watching my daughter skate. He's like, no, I was listening to the radio. I heard you just got traded.
Oh, for Christ's
I'm like,
sake.
what? He goes, yeah.
Talk about before Twitter.
I know.
right? Yeah.
I'm like, he's like, I heard you just got traded.
Eddie from
I'm like,
Edmonton
do you
told
mind
you.
telling me where? He's like, yeah, Boston. I'm like, oh my God.
You're trying to hide your fist pump.
No, I was pissed.
Were you gutted?
I was terrified.
Oh,
Because how it is.
That's a good point.
When some guys go home.
Yeah.
So my wife, Kara, comes walking back. She's pushing the stroller, and she looks at me, and I'm like, white as a ghost. She's like, what? I'm like, I think I just got traded. She's like, you're kidding. She's like, where? I'm like, Boston. She's like, oh.
Ed pokes his head in. He's
Yeah.
like, good luck, though, man. Nice seeing you.
So, we're going, it's just, I'm from there. She's not, it's just, I'm going back around all my buddies and this and that. But before Twitter, I left my cell phone in the car because you didn't always have it on you. So I went to the payphone, used my calling card. I called my agent, Bob Murray, and I'm like, Bob? He goes, Billy, you got traded. I'm like, Bob? He goes, yes, to the Bruins. I'm like, oh my God. I tell Kara, I'm like, yeah, it's confirmed. Boston.
Holy shit.
It was, so that was a bit of a shock. It was a bit of a shock.
And then you get there, and you get the double whammy. You get Pat Burns and Mike Keenan, your first 2 coaches there. How is your relationship?
No, I didn't play for Pat.
Oh, he was gone.
I didn't play for Pat. He was gone.
They fired him
Mike-
already.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
And Mike was there. And you know what? I mean, talk about a turner. Like, I loved it. I loved it. And I loved playing for Mike. Mike was great. Like, he's just one of those guys that if he likes you, he's just going to play the doors off you. And that's what he did. Like, he played me a ton. It was like the first time I ever killed penalties. We're in Detroit one night, and we took 2 penalties, and it's a 5-on-3 PK, and he taps me on the back. I said, yeah. He's like,
What's up, coach?
he's like, go ahead. I said, but it's a 5-on-3. He's like, I know. And we ended up killing it. And I think it's because I confused Detroit. They're like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Like, he's running around. Like,
in the crease?
Like I'm
He's shadowing the point, man.
I can only
He's at the
imagine
far blue waiting for a
the
breakaway.
two defensemen. I can only imagine what they were saying. Like, this guy he's never done this before.
He's trying to fight Lidstrom.
Yeah. But the 2 years in Boston it was a dream come true. It was, honestly, I loved it.
And you got to witness Joe Thornton, his first 100-point season.
Yeah.
100-point season.
Yeah.
He had 107, I think, in your first year there.
I don't remember.
Which is, I mean, like
But
watching a young guy of that caliber just dominate the next wave of NHL superstar. Was it fucking nuts?
It was crazy. It was crazy. It was like him and Sergei Samsonov was a young star at the time, but Joe was different.
Was it hard? Oh, go ahead.
He wasn't even. This is the way I remember it. He might say something different, but like, I was the half wall guy on the power play. Jason Allison was down on the goal line, and Joe was like the slot guy. I think he had 19 power play goals that year.
The bumper?
Yeah.
He was the bumper?
He no bumper there. It was overload.
Oh, okay.
I think he had I don't know how many power play goals he had that year. He had a ton. But Jason Allison, my God, that guy could pass the ball.
Oh, don't get RA going. We're going to spend 30 minutes on Jason
he was
Allison.
Unbelievable. And like everybody's
He's
like,
huge,
he's not
too.
a great skater. I'm like, yeah, but he carries 3 guys with him
Yeah,
and gives you a
exactly.
tap-in. I'm like, he was unreal. But
Hey,
those were good teams.
You play with him and Samsonov for a stretch
Yeah.
there, the old gas line. I mean, he's probably one of the more underrated guys. I know his career got cut short with the wrist injuries, but
Yeah.
one of the better probably centers you played with that most people don't even probably know about nowadays.
That guy could pass the puck as well as anybody. He was big and strong and could just fight guys off, and he just liked to pass like that. I was like, yeah, I'm good with that.
What year did you you won fastest skater at the All-Star game one year, right?
Yeah, that same year that I got traded.
Food poisoned everybody beforehand.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to go back to
Visine in their water bottle.
I want to go back to Boston quick. I know when you said when you initially heard that there was an element of fear after playing there. Like, did it end up living up to the hype, or was it kind of like fuck? It was what I expected it to
for
be.
everyone and stuff.
Getting tickets, all the
No.
distractions, going back home, and not living up to it was what you thought it was.
No,
gonna be?
it was so much better than I could have ever imagined. It was I loved it. It was awesome. It was just such a great experience. When I first got there and did all the press conferences and stuff like that, I made it a point to say it publicly, like, hey, this isn't a homecoming. I'm not coming here to hang out with all my, buddies and people. If you're coming out of the woodwork, I'm not getting anybody tickets.
Yep.
Like, that's it. Like, you know what? If you want tickets, you know where the box office is.
Yeah.
And that kind of put everything. And then, my buddies back home, my buddy Peter Munier, who I've been friends with since we were 10 years old, he was like the bulldog. He's like, don't call him.
Oh, he was your your muscle.
Yeah, he was my muscle. Don't call him. Like, hey, can BG get some tickets? He's like, no. So he would kind of.
Had you gotten the heads up from somebody before, who'd experienced the homecoming and maybe it didn't work out, or like what made you prepare in this type of way to kind of expect that was going to be the case?
I just saw guys. Some guys went home, and just it was hard. Whether you're from Boston or Toronto or wherever, there's a lot of pressure. And I think some people do try to, manage their, their family and people coming out of the woodwork. And, that's why here in Minnesota, I was a little reluctant bringing Minnesota guys back here because of that. But that's the advice I give them now. I said, just tell everybody no.
Yep.
You know what? Even your cousins and this and that, you take care of your immediate family, your parents, your brothers, your sisters. Everybody else is no.
If they want to go to the game, get to the game, figure it out.
Yeah, you know where the box office is. Because you guys know how it is too. Like, everybody thinks you got a handful of free tickets.
Oh, I make my parents buy their own tickets too,
yeah,
Billy.
I know you do.
Fuck off.
Yeah, but American League tickets aren't that expensive.
Yeah.
Cheap in
You
the
fucking
coast.
asshole.
Free Chipotle sandwich with it too.
You had your highest goal output under Robbie Ftorek that year. Who were you playing mostly with that year? Was it Joe?
Joe Stumple.
Oh, Joe.
The other
yeah,
Joe.
because he come over from the Allison trade.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
how did that go over in the room? Because Allison was the captain at the time. I know he was having contract bullshit like everybody at the Bruins did. Was it just kind of like, this is the Bruins? Would it have a huge ripple effect when it happened, being the captain and a huge guy on the team?
No, because, I mean, we all understand.
Right.
We all get it. We all,
Yep.
Everybody has a holdout or, pissed off about their contract or whatever. So, you know what? He wanted to trade and you got traded. Fine.
Yeah.
You move on. Like, we all know that this is the business. And yeah, you know what? Like, Joe Thornton was playing with Glenn Murray. I played with Stumple, and like, worked great. It was, I mean, I think we were first in the East that year, and we didn't do great in the first round against Montreal, but
yeah.
like, we had a hell of a regular season. Like, we're a good team.
Yeah.
We're a really good team.
And then you were UFA after that, and like I know the Bruins probably weren't even close to what Dallas offered you. I can't imagine Harry.
I wanted to sign
That was
though,
a
right?
that was around the time. That's why I said, like, the moving around didn't happen maybe as much, but then all of a sudden, mid '90s, the big deals and the big free agency really started.
Yeah.
That was
did.
big
And
money.
Yeah, it was, and there was a lot of movement. There was a ton, and I wanted to stay in Boston. I never got an offer.
Really? They didn't even give you an offer?
No.
Did they know that they just weren't going to be close to what you were going to get on the open market?
I understand it now more than ever because the lockout was coming up. They weren't going to sign anybody past the lockout, the 2 years or anything, which I totally get. And, Dallas and a couple other teams came with 5-year deals. And I'm like,
Came wiggling their tits out at you.
Oh yeah.
what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Was that day nuts? I mean, because it's such a huge deal, like, and you got other teams calling, like, figuring it out. And usually, from what I've been told, it's like, hey, we need an answer pretty quick here, right? Like,
Yeah.
How was that whole day? Did it play out July 1st?
Well, it was crazy. My wife and I stayed at a hotel the night before, because teams could meet with you after midnight. And midnight, my agent arranged it and everything like that. But like, Terry O'Reilly was working for the Rangers, and he was my favorite player. And he showed up at my hotel room like 12:01. There was a knock on the door, and it was Terry O'Reilly. And I'm like, oh my God.
How am I going to say
Like,
no?
This is unbelievable. If I say no, he's going to beat the crap out of me.
Is this Boston or New York City?
Boston.
Okay.
And he came in. He had a jersey for me. He had jerseys for my kids. He had like a Tiffany glass apple with the Rangers logo on it for my wife. They had a DVD, like a recruiting thing with like Jerry Seinfeld and Tim Robbins and Billy Crystal were
They had a
all.
hologram?
It was hilarious. It was hologram. It was unbelievable. Like, and then, then other teams. So, but then Dallas came in, and it wasn't like, boom, deal. Like, there was a bit of a negotiation. And,
Where you got more money or more about, like, maybe term?
different like structure and stuff like that. And, it wasn't just kind of like, bing, bang, here it is.
Yeah, it wasn't easy
it's done. It took 2 days or 3 days.
I mean, you were the belle of the ball, though. Didn't they have A-Rod on a video recruiting you down to Dallas, too?
No, they did a video too, but it was more like team based and stuff like that. And it was,
That's why he was so mad in training camp, is they didn't do the videos for him. We got to get to that.
They did a great video.
So one of the infamous incidences in training camp in Dallas, was that your first year, or was that a couple of years in?
No, that was my first year.
So your first
One
training
day
camp,
RDS was there.
a lot of people have probably seen that.
We were in Breckenridge, Colorado.
That's where you guys
That's where training camp was.
getting the altitude, try to get in better shape.
Oh, yeah.
And then you send this other guy. So, like, what was the whole incident and how did it go down? And I mean, I know it ended up going viral, but what, you just fucking snapped on this kid?
Yeah. It wasn't my greatest moment, but
are you embarrassed by it?
No, I'm not embarrassed by it. I shouldn't have done it.
What, baseball swung a guy over the head?
Yeah, I should. I overreacted, and I yeah, I just did it. I just, you know what, I just signed this free agent contract, and it was a young kid taking a run at me, and I overreacted. The wires
Best
touched
part is
a little
though,
bit.
he said, I walked around earlier. I told all the kids, "Hey, don't be running at me."
Before the camp started. Before the camp started.
Oh, just don't run at the the older guys. Don't run at the older guys, all right? And then this kid comes flying by and misses me, and like, yeah, like I just told you, I overreacted. I told you.
Did he get sent down the next day? Like, did you have to go over?
No,
and apologize?
I went over and apologized to him, and he came back to camp the next year, and we were actually roommates.
Did they do that on purpose just to fuck with you?
I think so. I don't know. I don't know if it was to fuck with me, but it was.
Well, I was surprised to hear you sign that contract and then they actually have you with a roommate in training camp. Or was that just kind of how things worked back then? Everybody had a roommate.
Well, we went up. So with Dallas, we went to Breckenridge one year and then Vail the next year, and they had like 5-man condos. So they had like one vet and, you know, like a couple guys, like maybe depth guys, and then 2 rookies. That's how they would set it up. And it was actually great. Like, we got there and it was like, you know, I pull up and like we brought 60 guys. Like, it was crazy the size of the camp, and everybody got mountain bikes.
That's an expensive camp, by the way. They were spending some dough on that.
That was yeah. And they were nice places, and yeah. And you take you go out to dinner on your mountain bike, and you have a couple beers, and you're trying to get back. It's uphill, and you're dying. You got a steak in you and a couple beers, and you're like huffing and puffing, and it was awesome. It was great.
So you signed this monster deal 5 times 9, and then after the 3rd year, Dallas buys you out. What went sideways there that led to the buyout? Was it just, I know, the one-off year? I mean, you had almost 60 goals, I think, your first 2 years. What changed? What happened?
You know what? We had the lockout year, and I spent a lot of time with the PA and negotiating and all that stuff. And I just don't think, looking back, I probably just didn't train properly and take care of myself as well as I should have. And I think I had a lot of stress and some anxiety from doing that job. It was brutal. Like,
you were a big part of that. I remember that.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, I did not have a good year. I just flat out, I was terrible. And you know what, for Dallas, looking at it that way, and I think it was a compliance buyout. So they could get,
everyone was allowed a few of those, right?
Yeah. So it didn't hit the cap.
Yep.
It was just the money. So
guys were going down with those too. There was a ton of them.
A lot of guys. So it was the right move for them to do, to pick up cap space, and, you know, because they didn't know if I was going to bounce back from that. But it was definitely motivation for me. It was one of those things where it was like, oh man, you know, it really stinks. We loved it in Dallas. Living there is amazing. Like, it's a great city. We made awesome friends there, but the hockey's got to be better. The hockey's got to work. So if it wasn't going to work there, maybe it'll work somewhere else, you know, and we're off again, you know.
Here we go.
You said that whole like stressful experience of being involved in all these negotiations. Is that the first time you really had a firsthand look at how this all works? Like, now that you're a GM, are you looking back being like, I'm glad I really understood the whole dynamic of this, you know, CBA?
One of the best things I ever did. And I remember Mike Gartner saying, you're going to get a crash course in hockey law 101. And it was unbelievable. So to be in these, oh my God, we were in New York City at this huge law firm called Skadden Arps, and they had all these giant boardrooms, and, you know, Gary's in there, Bill's in there, all the owners are in there, and, you know, their negotiating committee, our negotiating committee, and I just got a front row seat to how this whole thing works.
So you were allowed to listen to the owners speak. Like, you're at that big table.
Oh yeah, they're speaking to us, and they treated us with respect, and, you know, it was a meeting. Like, it wasn't like they're talking down to you or yelling at you, but things would get heated every once in a while. But it's amazing, like, when the lawyers got in there and went back and forth. You know, like when Gary and Bob would go back and forth, or, you know, Bill and Ted Saski and all this, the level And then some of the owners, these guys, some of these guys are brilliant, right? And they've built these huge corporations, and it was just so eye-opening for me. And it was an unreal experience. It really was. And you know what too? It really helped that nothing was personal. Nothing. The fact that the Bruins didn't sign me wasn't personal. The fact that I got bought out wasn't personal. Nothing is personal. It's business.
Helps you now.
Totally. It is not personal.
And then after that, of course, you go to St. Louis, sign as a free agent there. Was the big draw playing with Big Walt and Dougie? Was that the main reason you ended up there?
Yeah, that was it. And I felt like I needed to go someplace where I could really set myself up to continue my career. And, I really rededicated myself that summer. I, didn't drink that summer. I was eating like ostrich and elk.
That was the year kale salad was invented.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was a terrible thing too. It's changed the world. It's just, and then I went there and it was great. I had comfort level with those guys, and it was really good.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Like, was it at that point starting to get hard seeing all these different teams and always being the new guy and then having to prove yourself to a new coach, organization, fans, teammates? But I mean, you mentioned how it was comfortable moving in with those guys, but just overall at that point, how much you'd moved around in those, 5-10 years.
Yeah. So including the lockout, we had lived in Dallas for 4 years. And then getting bought out, that's where it really kind of started. Like St. Louis, San Jose, the Islanders and Pitt, like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
That's where it really
on the back nine too, right?
Yeah.
Like it starts.
Yeah. You know what? That's when, my kids were getting older. You know what? I was getting into my late 30s, and it's like, oh wow, this is really getting tough because it's really affecting them. And that's what kind of stunk. I could walk into any locker room and just, I was getting used to it now. Oh my God. It's like
Billy G's here.
Every 6 months, I think I need a new bag. I need a new logo.
Saloon doors.
That's why he's got 14 helmets up there.
Exactly.
Hey, but you ended up having an incredible year that year and making the All-Star game. And go back to what you were saying, sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, you get used to it. That part is easy. The part that stinks is off the ice with the family.
Moving.
And like it all falls on your wife, and she's getting the kids re-enrolled in school because we don't know how to do that.
No.
Getting the kids in soccer teams and hockey teams, and and they have to make new friends again. It's easy for us. We roll into town, with a new bag and 20 new friends, and we're like, yeah, this is great. They're grinding, and it is tough.
And if I'm not mistaken, that next year in St. Louis, you make the All-Star game. It's in Dallas, and then you get introduced, and then you end up getting a standing ovation. Like, obviously, they loved you, and you're a fan favorite there. Did that probably felt pretty good after given how it all ended?
Yeah, it did. It felt really good. It was, it really did. I felt because what, after a bad year, you don't know how the fans feel about you or how the organization feels about you, but I got to say, leaving like that, getting bought out, since then, it's been nothing but, a great relationship with the Dallas Stars. Like it was that night was really special. That was really cool to have that.
Now that trade from St. Louis to San Jose, they picked you up at the deadline for a cup run there.
Yeah.
Did you sort of facilitate that? Was that something that the general manager said, hey, where do you want to go? How did that trade come about?
Yeah, I had a no trade in my contract, and we weren't going to make the playoffs in St. Louis. I was getting old, and I wanted another crack at the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So, I was actually talking to San Jose before I signed in St. Louis that year. And, with all the new cap stuff, they couldn't fit me in. So, I signed in St. Louis. So when that opportunity came, John Davidson and Larry Plow asked me if I'd be interested in going there. I said, yeah, absolutely. They had a great team. Joe was there, and they had a bunch of good young players. And
was Chichu still there?
Chichu was still there. I mean, he was scoring 50 goals a year back. Scotty Hanna and all these great guys. And I said yeah, but here we go again. You know, I'm on the move again. New bag, new helmet.
The whole family went, or they must have maybe
No,
stayed?
they stayed in St. Louis, and the kids were, I guess, still young enough where they could miss a bit of school and stuff. They did a lot of back and forth, and you know, we just, I don't know. We don't like living away from each other, so we do what we have to do. But yeah, it was, you know what, it was a great experience in San Jose. I wish I played better because I really loved playing there. Unbelievable place to live. Like,
really,
that area is incredible.
Santa Clara?
I stayed at Hotel Los Gatos.
Oh, nice.
And
yeah, La Quinta?
That place, honestly,
La Quinta
They had
special?
a happy hour in the
I'm
lobby
telling you,
from 5 to
look
7.
it up. It's got one of the greatest Greek restaurants you could ever be at. And like, so I was there like every night. I was eating lamb chops like every night. It is one of the greatest areas you could ever live. Like, it was so cool. I loved it. I just didn't play that well.
Yeah.
So then we move on.
Yeah.
Then again,
The Islanders. Like, what was the draw there? Did you get a lot of options at that point? I know,
They needed a captain. They needed leadership. Which is a wild story because you signed there, and then in training camp, I think you got named captain of that team, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty rare for a guy to get signed and then all of a sudden get the C, right?
Yeah. It was a pretty cool experience. I mean, Snowy was, you know, he had other guys on the team too, and he took the plunge with me, which was really cool. But
who was the coach then?
Good way to make friends coming in, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
They think they're getting the C. This fucking new guy.
Sorry, guys. Yeah. Teddy Nolan.
Okay.
Was the coach there. And, you know, it's surprising. No, I was surprised. I had nothing. Like, after, I don't know how many, 36 or 37 goals that year or something. I know I didn't play great in the playoffs and whatever, but I really didn't have anything.
No shit.
And the Islanders came knocking, and they had a 2-year deal for me. And I was like, well,
that's it.
I gotta take it. Like, it's, and you know what? And Snowy put the time in. He called me all the time. Like, it went on for a couple of days, and Teddy called me and had some good conversations, and I got comfortable with it. And I'm like, you know what? This is great. You know what? They're giving me a 2-year deal. Like, they're obviously very interested in me. So this could be good. And then, like you said, when I got there, they had a press conference or like a lunch or something like that where they named me the captain. And that was a huge thrill. Like, they were nothing but great to me. Like, it was, I loved playing there, loved living there. There's good things and bad things about everywhere, you know, but it was a really good experience.
Look, Batesy, he was still there, right?
Kaka?
Oh my God.
Kaka's the best. My kid's still like, because he'd come over and he's like, yeah, you know, hey kids, it's Uncle Kaka. and so my kid's still, hey, where's Uncle Kaka? And I'm like, Bates, he's back in Medford.
You just tell kids that you're their uncle, and all of a sudden you brainwash them enough to believe it.
Oh, they loved him. You guys know him. I mean, he's got the biggest heart in the world. Like, he's just the best guy.
Unreal. Played at BU, and every offseason.
Yeah, but he lived at home.
Yeah. So he's from Medford, which is right outside the city, like, 10 minutes from BU. He never once slept at BU in all the years he was at school there. He always go back to Medford. But the funniest thing was, every summer he'd be at Mike Boyle training, and he'd gain like 15 pounds every summer. He loved crushing beers, and then sure as shit, end of July, August would come. He'd go 2-a-day workouts. He'd lose all 15 and be buzzing at camp. It was unbelievable. This guy
lose his chin and just ready to go, or what?
I don't know if he lost his chin. He is a beauty, though. What a great
unreal guy.
So I wanted to ask you about Ted Nolan, because like his name comes up sometimes, and I think he still wants to coach, and NHL loves recycling coaches. Like, what was your experience with him, and like, do you think he can still coach in the NHL today?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's been a long time, and I don't know. I mean, could he coach? Yeah, of course.
Biz could coach, though.
Yeah, but the game's changed so much, and if you're not in it all the time, it's tough to jump back in. And what happened there was tough. Like, Teddy got let go, and then And then the Islanders kind of went in a totally different direction, and they really started getting younger. So it was kind of a rebuild. And I'll admit it, I just wasn't that guy. I couldn't do it. I couldn't be there and just be,
Well, the end's coming, and you're like, I'm not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I want another crack at this. I want to try to win again. Like, I want to win another Stanley Cup. So we were all like, my kids weren't born when we won in '95. So all they heard were the stories of how great it was and this and that. And they never experienced it. So after a while, it just kind of wasn't working out with the Islanders anymore. And, it was time for a change, and it was kind of funny because I came off of warm-ups one night and Snowy's like, "Hey, I think I got a deal for you." I'm like, "All right." And it was Philly. And he's like, "Yeah, they just have to try to, make some moves to free up some cap space for you." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I'll go to Philly. It's easy. You can drive down and, my wife's from South Jersey, so it's no problem. And they're a good team and great." So that kind of went on for 5 days. So I stayed, didn't go to practice, missed 2 games.
Oh, they were sitting you out, so it was pretty much all right.
It was done. Like, and so I'm calling Snowy every day. I'm like, "Anything yet?" He's like, "Nope, they're still trying to work it out." I'm like, "Great." And went on for 5 days. I'm like, "What is going on?" Yeah. And it just, it's hard to make deals. So eventually Snowy called. He's like, "That's not going to work out." I'm like, "Oh my God, no." Like, okay, who else? And, then the Rangers sniffed a little bit, and that kind of, we were excited about that because it was, right across the river, and, that would have been easy family wise. And that kind of fell through. And then 15 minutes left to the deadline, Snowy calls and he's like, "Pittsburgh." Yes.
Let's go.
He's like, "Done."
Wow.
They just dumped Whitney's terrible contract.
Yeah.
7 days before
they said, we got rid of Whitney. We think we can win now. Hey,
character in.
No, they
this
call
is an
Billy.
odd
Billy,
trade call.
we got a chance. Like, Whitney's still there? No, he's gone. I'm in.
Let's do this. But it was, it was like 15 minutes to the deadline. I agreed to it, and it was, like I hung up the phone. I look at Karen. I'm like, "It's Pittsburgh." And
She's like, "I've been through this before.
Yeah.
I've seen this look before.
Yeah,
What's going on? We're getting traded."
Exactly. And then after a little while, I didn't even think. I'm like, "Oh my God, like, what? I think I could end up playing with maybe that Crosby kid or Malkin kid." I'm like, "These guys are good." I'm like, this could work out. And it was unreal.
Yeah, I mean, you've, let's see, 15 points in 24 games. It's not like you were a passenger during that run at all. You had a big overtime goal as well for us.
Depends who you ask.
Sid was
Sid said I was a passenger.
Yeah. Move your legs.
Said, "Move your feet."
Move your feet. You guys had a bit of a.
Oh my
you guys
God,
had a fuck you match in the playoffs, in the finals,
In the finals after the first shift.
or the
Of
first
game one?
game.
Game 1.
He's like, "I ain't losing these fucking guys again."
Yeah, it was
Billy.
incredible. We were both so like high strung. And it was like, he told me to move my feet. I told him to shut the fuck up. And, we were going at it. Like, this is after shift 1 in game 1. We're both losing our, like, okay, we got to calm down. We got to refocus here. We had a lot of fun. And Chris Kunitz, was like the calming factor. He's like, "You guys just got to stop."
I felt
He just
like
wouldn't say anything. He just kind
And
of.
you lost both there again. No?
We lost 2 there.
And we
won 2. We got smoked in game 5, and then we won 6 at home and 7 on the road. It was it was unreal. That team was.
that Detroit team was better than the team the
They
year
were really
before.
good.
when you first got there, did they tell you, like, not only are you going to provide the leadership, but we Did they say anything about maybe the relationship and the dynamic with Sid and the fact that he maybe needed a little bit? Do you feel then that he needed a little bit of pressure off him as the leader of that team?
Yeah, I knew just hearing from other people, other guys, what he was like, and yeah, I think that the team was still relatively young, and even though it had been 14 years, I had still been through it. And I guess they just needed somebody like that. And to be quite honest too, I'd been on so many teams by this point. Like I was fine walking into a room.
Yeah, no
it
shit.
was like, I was myself. I was, you could bust guys' chops right away. And, guys like Hal Gill were there and Scuds and great guys like that helped me out, and Mark Eaton and, Craig Adams. Like these guys were great. Like it was
an unreal group.
Oh, it was unbelievable. And we just had really good guys like Sergei Gonchar. Like what a unbelievable.
Oh, you
guy.
mean Malkin's interpreter?
Yeah.
How about Gonch? Hey, how about Gonch? Like in between periods, sitting Indian style, taping his stick.
Yeah,
like he's like the
drinking
professor.
tea. Drinking tea.
Is that green tea?
Yeah, and then he'd go out and throw about 1 million little head fakes at guys, and they'd go flying. Like he was one of the best power play D I've ever played with. Like that guy was he could walk the line looking at you right in the eyes, and he'd like try to send you a signal like, I'm going to shoot. Like
I'm shooting for your stick.
Yeah,
bro.
exactly. You knew when he was shooting to score because his head was down, and he was going to wire that thing, and he'd just pray for the best. But that team was awesome.
Going into your last season, you're 39 years old. How much gas do you think you got left in the tank at this point? You just won a cup. You do have any thoughts of retiring on top, going out like that? Or
No way. No way. I was having too much fun.
Okay.
Those guys were just so good to me. Like they were just like everybody says, like, oh, you're the older guy. You came in and you gave them all this and this. Those guys gave me way more than I could ever have given them. They just injected so much life back into me. I wanted to be 5 years younger.
Yeah.
Not 10. I'm not getting greedy. 5. Just to continue to play with that group because I knew they were just so special. I forget like Jordan Stahl. Like, my God, he was our third line center. Like,
Beast.
Like they were just so young too.
Letang was young.
Letang
was real young.
That Chris Letang wasn't the Chris Letang we see today either. But he was coming. Like he was.
He's just so fast, that kid. That's what
was it after that cup, or was it your first one where you ended up getting pranked by the carrier of the cup?
Oh, the first one.
Okay, so let's go. Okay, so I thought it was the second one. My apologies. Could we go back to that story quickly?
Yeah. So, this guy's name is Pat Plunkett, and he did the whole thing by himself. He had a rough summer.
He was the guy. He was the guy carrying at the time.
Yeah. And I think Lou had the cup down in Rhode Island. He was done with it, but it was like a day early. So Pat calls and he says, "Hey, do you want the cup a day early?" So I'm like, "So do I get it for 2 days?" He's like, "Yeah, you get it for 2 days." I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go."
So he's got this minivan that's rented, and he's got the cup back there with the case, and he pulls in, and he's like, "It's right in the back. Open it up." And I open up the case, and it's empty. And I'm like, it's empty. I can barely talk.
It's not here.
Like, did Lou hang on to it? Like I could barely talk. And he let it go on for like a little while, and I'm like, I can't believe this. This is terrible. Now you got to go back to where you got to go get it. And
was he pretending like what happened to it?
He was leading me on the whole time. I'm dying here. I'm dying. And then he just went in the back, and he had like a Stanley Cup blanket over it or something. And he pulled it out. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Thank God.
There you go.
It was great. It was great. That was the coolest day too, because nobody knew. Nobody knew I had it. So I called just a couple close buddies and stuff like that. And like we were at my parents' house, and it was just sitting on the picnic table in the back. And, there wasn't like mobs of people. And, that guy, Gary Deneen, I called him up and I said,
no way.
I'm like, Gary, I'm like, I got the cup. He's like, what? I'm like, I got the cup. And, he dreamed of this. He came over, came to my parents' house. He went out back. He grabbed it. He cried.
No way.
He cried. I was like, this this is like the greatest day.
Gary, I told you.
That was the guy from Springfield.
Yeah, he's like, I told you it didn't matter about those grades.
Exactly.
He was suspending me that game.
Hey,
You sandbagger.
that C- average was fine, wasn't it? But that was a great day.
Okay, I thought it was the second cup where you ended up getting pranked, but going back to the second one, was there any conversation of the fact that Sid was going to pass it to you first?
No, I had no idea. No.
And just looking back,
it's just totally organic, I guess.
And Sid didn't play
maybe I elbowed my way to the front of the line.
You're like, skills, he beat it.
you conquer him in the fuck you match in that first game. So
No, but hey, that game Sid didn't play, right? The second.
No,
and third?
he was injured. He had the MCL sprain. Yeah. He was on the bench, but most of the guys had to take his reps throughout the second and third period.
It was unreal. Yeah, he got I thought it was a Charlie horse that Johan Franzen hit him. Yeah. And you see the hit, and his knee just it wasn't intentional, but his knee just, and Sid tried, and so we played half the game without him, and that was, Stalzy and Gino were like pulling, Craig Adams, they were all pulling double duty, and I forget everybody was playing center. Except me, of course.
Sid was still telling you to move your feet.
Yeah, exactly. He's coaching me from the bench now. I got back after a shift. He said, "Can I offer a bit of advice?"
Move your fucking feet.
Oh my
That's
God.
unreal.
But that part was really cool. That was
awesome. Of all guys, Max Talbot to score the 2 goals in Game 7.
The gamer. He's a beauty. He's the best.
He must have been doing his thing on what was it, Mario's? Right beside his place.
That house right next to Mario's.
No, he lived in the back room. He lived in the kitchen.
He was a big game player.
He was.
He
always was.
He learned that in junior in Hall.
Like it was. He would just rise to the occasion every time. He was awesome. He's one of my favorite guys. I love that kid.
I'll say this: is you were one of the last guys I'd see where they would get like a 6-pack in your stall. You and Skillsy would be crushing beers after games. You guys were like the last wave before the protein shakes.
Yeah. Not too many protein shakes.
No.
Definitely on the bus. You had to have them on the bus.
Well, that's just such an amazing career we went over, and then now what you're doing now, you mentioned how much different it is and how much more goes into like your daily activities as to when you're playing. It had to be a little overwhelming at the beginning, right? And you have this Kaprizov contract. Like, has there been moments when you're like, holy shit, like this is a lot tougher than I imagined it would be?
Yeah, that was tough. Because you know how it is. Like, even when you're a player and you're doing contract negotiations or whatever, you're like, I can't believe they're not seeing my side of this.
Yeah, like what am I not saying?
You're like, yeah, what like.
Why won't he sign 5 times 5?
They'll definitely say yes to this. Well, they have their own thoughts too. So I think not even the contract stuff. The contract stuff's fine. I don't mind it. Like, you know what? I had been through so much. I had 2 holdouts as a player also. The pain in the ass. But so I feel like I have still kind of a connection of what the player's thinking and going through. So, I can be, sympathetic to a guy or empathetic, whatever it is, and
not make it personal.
But I can also, going through my situations with Lou and then Glenn Sather, they drew a line in the sand, and that was it. Like when they said, "This is it. This is all we have." That was it, and I learned from that. So, that's kind of what I use nowadays. But I guess the biggest thing for me, like, now is the GM's not, you just don't deal with just hockey. You get pulled in a million different directions. PR wants to talk to you. The business side wants to talk to you. I have a great relationship with Craig Leopold, our owner, but, we talk quite a bit. You just get pulled in a lot of different directions. But the key is having great help. And I got the best people around me. Just awesome, smart, hardworking guys.
And when you interviewed for this job, like, what was that like? Because when was the last time you had an interview for anything, right? And you hear some of these interviews being 4 or 5 hours long. Like, what were you? I
interviewed at Friendly's.
You're like, can I get a fribble, please? I'll have this job by the time it's made.
Best ice cream.
Jason Dine and Dash kids.
Yeah. The interview was, Craig is such an easy guy to talk to. Matt Maka, the president, is the same. And, both times I interviewed, I just felt real comfortable. I was prepared too. So when you're prepared, you have more confidence. And you know what? I was ready. I knew I was ready. So I felt very comfortable. That I felt like this was going to be the right spot for me.
And my last question, when you say prepared, because it's just, I'm very curious in this, are you talking, you knew the roster inside and out? Or are you more prepared in terms of like knowing about the business side of it? Like, what does that mean?
Well, first of all, being prepared is like how you're going to run, how you're going to structure how you're going to do pro scouting, how you're going to do amateur scouting, where those guys are all going to be, how you're going to do development, your plan for development,
who you're going to buy out.
Just everything. Like you have to have an actual plan of what, where do you see the team? Is this a full rebuild? Can we rebuild on the go? I had a list of about, 20 to 30 things that I would do in my first 30 days.
No shit.
And all these things. And you know what? I had a lot of help, like preparing for it. Randy Sexton, who works for us now, helped me a ton in preparing for it. And, because he had been a GM twice before and he knew how to do these things and, helped me put it together and just ready to go. I'm not one of these guys that had I didn't have like a PowerPoint presentation and hand out these booklets. I'm more of a people person, just talk and spell things out.
Biz just mentioned the buying out. You obviously bought out Suter, Parisi. It was a big deal here. Did that feel like kind of a crossing the Rubicon moment for you as the GM of Minnesota? Like, all right, there's no turning back if I do this?
Oh, yeah. I knew I was sticking my neck out. But, that decision wasn't made overnight.
Right.
It was, I brought the idea to Craig, some months before that. And it was just a series of conversations between him and I, and really spelling it out. Like, hey, look, it's going to do this for us year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, or 5. And, but this is what it will do for us also. And I just felt it was the right move. I felt it was time.
And the way the team's played so far this year is a pretty great thing to see if you're a Wild fan. So, I mean, personally, it's amazing we got to sit down and interview.
There's almost too much to cover.
I know. Well, that's what happens. He's got 19 helmets and 43 jerseys in this basement. So all in the NHL, like you reminded you. We thank you, though.
I'll tell a quick personal story. I know I spent the one training camp with you after you'd won the Stanley Cup with Pittsburgh, and I remember ended up getting picked up off waivers, and things weren't necessarily going so great. I know that we'd hit it off personally in that training camp we were together, and I go over to Phoenix, and you and Donor are chatting at the Red Line. This is our 3rd game of the season, and then you're like, hey, make sure you take care of my buddy, and we'd barely known each other.
That goes a long way, though.
Billy G, I'm being dead serious when I felt that really helped break the ice for me to really be a part of that Coyotes roster and in that dressing room. And I'll never forget in Pittsburgh when that happened, it just felt like me and Donor became closer buddies.
Donor's like, this guy?
He's like, wait a minute. He's like, you're vouching for this idiot. And the reason why he was probably calling me idiot is like the first game of the year is I was chirping about being on the table in the locker room. So I guess I never got the pep talk to not chirp a vet for being on the table. But that really broke the ice for me. And Percy, like how good of a guy you are, it goes a long way, Billy G. And I felt it firsthand. And I thank you a lot, pal.
Well, I appreciate it. And you know what you guys are doing, I just think this is amazing. Like,
thanks.
You know what, the show, the way you guys treat all the guys are comfortable, and you guys know you've been there, and the friggin' Pink Whitney. Oh my God. Like,
I know
it's incredible.
The vodka logo.
I just think it's awesome what you guys have been able to accomplish. And can I do something first? I want to give my son's on an 11-day road trip with the New Mexico Ice Wolves.
Liam's grinding it out right
Liam's
now.
grinding it out on the buses.
As long as he doesn't fall asleep on the sleeper like Markstrom.
But all the boys down there are huge fans of yours, and they I just want to give them a shout out. And you wore the jersey.
I got a jersey,
which was huge.
Yeah.
Wait, I'll get you one.
I'll wear it. I'll wear
Yeah.
it.
Come on, you don't
And
want that.
all right, you want one too.
Come
I
on,
know
hook
you
it
do.
up.
Absolutely. If it's free, it's for me. That's my
Yeah,
slogan.
absolutely. But
There'll be a
you
cigarette
know what,
hole
with
in it if
those-
RA has
with
one.
kids like that age, these guys love you. I don't get it.
Same
Biz used to tell really
same
ridiculous
maturity
stories.
level, so it
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
resonates.
no, I get that.
The high school guys,
get that.
I got my grade 12, but I shouldn't have.
Actually,
Yeah.
I got one more, Bill. There was a clip of you. I don't know if it was Dumbo. You asked a question, what are you here for? And I think you might have said, here to have fun. And you're like, no, fuck that. We're here to win. Now, you don't usually see the attributes of a player come out as a GM. Do you feel that, like, your players still feel like you still almost are a player in some regards because of your resume?
I do. I feel like yeah, it was Spurge, by the way.
Oh, okay.
But I do feel like I can still communicate with the guys. Like, I'm not, I mean, oh my God, I think this is year 11 or 12 that I'm retired, but I can still talk their talk, and I don't pretend, or I don't apologize for that either. Like, so if I can help guys out, I will. Like, I talk to guys who I feel like I played like Foligno or Ryan Hartman, or, you know, guys like that, guys that play emotional or what, I'll try to help them. You know, and just, I like to know the guys. I like to have the feel of the room and what, you know, what's going on. And, yeah, that's kind of the way I am.
Yeah, it really comes through, like, just the way that, you know, the players respect you and stuff. So, well, this is a blast, man.
Thank you so much.
Absolute
Yeah, this is
blast.
awesome.
Well, gang, an absolutely gigantic thanks to Billy Guerin for the incredible hospitality he showed us out in Minnie. What a night. Absolute all-time night for the Chiclets boys. Great time, great guy, great hospitality, great family. Can't say enough about the guy. You can see why the entire NHL loves the guy. So we do want to also mention that interview is also brought to you by our good friends over at Cross Country Mortgage. Buying a home can feel like a brawl. If you want to come through the other side with all your teeth, you need a team that has your back. And that's why Chiclets Nation skates with Cross Country Mortgage. They are dedicated to getting it done with a home buying game plan to make sure that your mortgage wins for you. Cross Country Mortgage has a team of loan officers dedicated to getting it done and finding you the best possible loan terms available. They have an average close time of just 21 days. It's ridiculously fast. And they have a huge variety of products. They cover everything from renovations to refis and everything in between. So don't risk getting drilled during the home buying process. Go with Cross Country Mortgage. They have your back and are dedicated to getting it done. Go to crosscountrymortgage.com/Barstool so Cross Country Mortgage can take care of you through the home buying process. Cross Country Mortgage, LLC, NMLS 3029. All loans subject to underwriting approval. www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. Check them out, folks, if you're looking to buy or refi. Once again, I know I just said thanks to Billy G, but that was just an awesome interview. Hopefully you folks enjoyed it. Awesome time. Too bad all our interviews couldn't be like that. Huh? Biz get fed a nice fat
You mean
steak
when they're
and a few
cooking up
cocktails.
Wagyu for us? Yeah, I mean, that'd be unbelievable.
Wagyu
Billy G
baby.
is the man. I couldn't really blurt it out properly when we were sitting there, but yeah, man, like when I got traded away from Pittsburgh, that's like the only organization in pro hockey that I'd known, and it sucks because you spend all this time like developing these relationships and like kind of being known as a certain person in the locker room and being able to be comfortable kind of being a clown and around all these guys. And it sucked. Like I was pissed when I left the organization and I wasn't exactly feeling it when I first got to Arizona. So Billy G really helped me feel comfortable there by that exchange at the red line with Shane Doan. Like it just kind of something shifted. I could sense it. I think I'm a pretty aware guy, and I'm forever grateful to Billy G and the way that he treated me, being the peasant that I was back then.
You didn't exactly come in quiet either in the locker
No,
room.
I know, but you know, I guess you got to be yourself, right? Fucking coming in,
Exactly.
fucking full court press with the fucking hands up. Defense. Like, hey, I don't know if who I remember told the story. Like, I don't even remember doing this. Like one day after, like when I was 18, I come in the training room and like Mario was there, or he walked in as I was getting treatment. And I was like, hey, what are you doing for lunch later? You want to grab like a bite to eat? Like kind of just like talking to Mario like he would have considered going to eat with like an 18-year-old guy with pimples on his face who just gotten drafted 4th round of the organization. So, yeah, I was maybe a little bit of a fucking dummy early on.
Everyone's afraid to talk to him,
spirit.
but you're asking him out to lunch.
I'm like, hey, what's up? I'm like, fucking.
By the way, you weren't even like.
Hey, I'm like, you guys were a little light on the per diem too, like, because he's part owner. He's like, who the
What did he say, Biz?
You weren't even worried about Mario. You just wanted the free
no.
lunch.
I
Like, this
think
guy will pay.
he just thought of a nice way to be like, oh no, like I'm busy, like it's just like okay, cool, man. Well, good seeing you. See you tomorrow. Like guys, like guy rubbing my leg in the training room. Like, is this fucking guy serious?
Get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
Be ready for tomorrow. Doing
course.
battle drills.
We were in Minnesota for the Winter Classic, and one little note on that. It was the most watched regular season game on cable all time, averaged 1.4 million viewers. It's the most watched on traditional TV this season for any network as well. So nice to see people are tuning in. A little slow crawl, Biz. Get these numbers up. People loving hockey. Games are great. Teams are great. This league's never been better, so
Listen,
get more on board.
it would have been awesome to be there. I don't know whose call it was to get us back in studio. I would imagine that was a veteran decision by Wayno to be like, guys, we really want to be sitting there. So I don't know. I don't know who got us back there. But it was a fun game to call, folks. It was great to see that many numbers. And I think all in all, a very successful event. And like, I don't know if there was like a shift where people were kind of ripping on these outdoor events a little bit. Am I okay with the criticism by maybe some of them lose their luster if you're doing too many of them? But that overall experience, man, is a fucking blast. And I actually, the way that it looked on camera, I can understand why they also switch them around from football to the baseball diamond. That had a really good scene to it, did it not, R.A.?
Oh, I had a blast. I mean, the cold, yeah, it was cold, but like it's Minnesota in January. You're going to freeze your balls off. I had a fantastic time all weekend. Again, the people are great. The food was great. Everything was fantastic, and I would go back in a heartbeat. So kudos to Minnesota. You guys pulled it off.
And I was actually going to talk more about it. The not only was that broadcast fun, we've been getting treated with some pretty good games on TNT. So we had that one between St. Louis and Pittsburgh. What did you make of Berube's call in real-time wit when he tried to call the goalie interference on that tying goal by Sid?
Thought it was a bad call.
Like right away, you're like, no, like you, because RA, I remember in the group
I was
chat.
watching, I was like, oh, I wouldn't challenge that. But that doesn't really mean anything because there's a guy whose actual job it is in the locker room, the video coach saying like, hey, challenge it. So he's being told what to do. And obviously a professional saw something I didn't. Now, if you're down in the game, no doubt, but a tie game, it just made no sense.
I feel like sometimes like even the best of coaches make poor decisions in the midst of the moment. Like also a factor that plays into it. Binnington was hot as soon as it went in. So maybe that not maybe trying to like put it into the hands of the goalie being self-aware enough to being like, yes, this is something that needs to be challenged with it being thrown to the head coach. Like if I would have seen that replay on the monitor from the overhead, I would have personally, like obviously saying that it's like a Monday quarterback kind of thing. No way I would have called that. But do you think that the goalie's reaction plays into his decision-making?
Possibly. Where he's trusting his tender and believing that this guy knows that wasn't a legal goal. That's a good point. I actually didn't think of that. I was more kind of looking to blame the video coach, which is unfair. But I do think that,
under the bus. Hey, Tippett woulda. Just kidding.
I'm
Tip.
disappointed in Tip because I'm actually disappointed in myself. You know,
Yeah.
like people like
Exactly.
What's the saying? I can't think of it. So I was shocked by that. I mean, if you think though that St. Louis. Oh, are we jumping into? Can we jump into the next game, or are we going somewhere else? All right, sorry.
Well, I kind of wanted to talk about that, and then the fact that right off of that penalty called, and you talk about momentum shifts in a hockey game. You won't see one that fucking quick. I think it took 19 seconds later after they tied the game for them to score on that power play. Did you see Crosby off the face-off against O'Reilly? Through, just like you saw in that Clayton Keller ended up doing in the Nashville game. But it's like you're saying, like after the game, Sullivan was stroking him off, saying "Vintage Sid," because he just like it's like he smelt blood in that moment. He went forward on the draw. He didn't end up getting an assist on it, but he gets the whole play going by just that momentum shift. Boom, he gets the tying goal off of a defenseman who he'd been battling with all night, who ended up suckering him in the face, got the blood going, and then they were down 2. They pulled a goalie, Jari. Just like I thought that was one of the most entertaining regular season games I've ever seen. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Biz, I did text over. I'm like, that's not a goal. And then my next text was like, I bet the fucking Blues. So I was like, I was rooting for it. But Sid didn't initiate the contact. I know Bennington's feet were in the crease. He put his elbow out. So it wasn't anything that should have disallowed the goal. I said it right away because, like I said, I bet the other team. But in hindsight, no, there was no reason that should have been disallowed because any contact was not initiated by Sidney. So there should have been no basis to disallow it, other than me betting the Blues that night.
I'm such a loser, like one of an all-time loser. On Monday last week when we recorded, I said watch Crosby just go on a tear in the next 10 games or in a 10-game span coming up. I then bet against them. I took the Blues that night, so complete loser there. And then I don't take Fleury. Not betting Fleury on his return to Vegas is another loser move by a clown. Yours truly. I'm just missing out on gambling games that just seem too obvious. Not that Pittsburgh was obvious there, but the Fleury return, I'm just losing.
That's why going back to that Boston feeling I had on the Tampa game, Cooch was coming back in the lineup, and I feel like when you add like a big piece, it just
He already played though.
Oh, I thought that was his first game back.
No, it was the previous one when he set up.
That's what I tried texting you. I can tell now on the text.
Then my fuck up led to a win. So fucking thank me.
Your whole reason was that it's because it was.
I thought it was his first game back. I'm like, that always fucks things up. Damn it.
We want to send congrats to our pal Jake Voracek. Played his 1,000th NHL game Thursday in a 3-1 loss to Jersey. We had him on the show a couple years ago. Absolute character of the game. This is a guy we got to get on another point. He was just absolutely hilarious fella, but congrats to him once again on his 1,000th NHL game played. Moving right along, a couple of trade demands or perceived trade demands. And the first one, Dallas defenseman John Klingberg. There were rumors he wanted out. He addressed it the other night after a game. He said, I've been a Dallas Star since day one. I've been pretty clear that I want to stay here. I understand it's a business. For me as a player, I don't feel like I've been appreciated. I don't think it's entirely true that he wants to get out. But either way, Dallas isn't really making that much of an effort to keep him after this year. The writing looks like it might be on the wall. He's going to be unrestricted this summer. He's currently making $4.25 million a year. The question is, does Dallas end up dealing this guy, try to get something for him if they don't want to keep him?
Yeah, that's one guy they can part ways with on the back end. I mean, they got Heiskanen who can do what he can do offensively, although maybe the line walking is second to none in the league. He's really good at walking the line. But Heiskanen can produce that offense, and he's also a lot more reliable defensively. And at what Klingberg's going to command on the open market, I think that's an easy pass. I think they should try to trade him.
Yeah, he's gonna get traded. I think at this point, they stopped talking like in the fall. And when he says underappreciated, I understand what he means. It's just I understand both sides here, and this is such a business where you look at Dallas and you look at the contracts that Ben have and Sagan have, and I would guess, right? Like you're looking at those deals now, it's kind of tough. Both those guys, they're not the players they once were, and a lot of that has to do with injury and getting older. But Klingberg's 30 years old, so he wants an 8-year deal. He wants that max deal. His numbers support that. I mean, this is a guy who he can completely dominate a game offensively as a defenseman. I mean, the walking the line, I mean, might be second to Makar in the league in embarrassing guys, like breaking ankles out there. And
it's
so,
like an and one mixtape tour.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
He's got those pump fakes. He's got the socks over the back of his white. Does he still have those white wheels? Remember he was rocking those forever? But an offensively gifted, like kind of wizard running the power play. So he's going to want a lot of money, probably like $7 million a year on a long deal, and they're not willing to pay it. They've probably looked at what they just gave Heiskanen and just realized they're ready to part ways. And when that happens, now I actually shouldn't say they're definitely going to trade him because they're still in the hunt. It's going to be hard, right? As the season goes on. That's why that loss they had, we'll get to that loss on the bonus freakout, was such a
kick in the dick, they could end up missing the playoffs by 1 point. It's going to be that kind of grind. So I don't know. Maybe they will keep him on trying to go for a run. But if you can get some assets and figure that your team's either not going to make it or can do what they're doing without him, then you trade him and get some draft picks or maybe get a player that could help. But it is weird for him to say he feels underappreciated. It's kind of like I've been here 8-9 years. Every year I'm a top offensive defenseman, and now it's just like you're done with me.
He did sign a pretty team-friendly deal when he got it. I think he's making, 5.3? So for what?
4.25.
Oh, fuck, even less. Oof. So that's a guy who probably feels like he played above what his payday was, and we're going to get to another guy pretty soon. And then all of a sudden the new hot guy comes into town and he gets a little bit of your money, but buddy, that's the nature of the beast right there. Now, I think he's still going to get it on the open market. Now, you mentioned Bonus's snap show. He wasn't the only one. We had Farabee and Philly went down the hallway and fucking the wires crossed. And then and Tarasenko on that TNT broadcast after the third period meltdown. So, whoo, baby, we're in playoff mode.
And Bones went nuts. They called 2 penalties on Dallas, I believe, with under a minute left, and at least one of them was kind of chintzy at that stage of the game where it's that close. I could see why he got that pissed off. And Biz, you just mentioned another defenseman who could be on the market. Your guy, defenseman Jacob Chikrin in your hometown Coyotes. Jeff Marek said at least 10 teams have asked. He compared it to Minnesota trading Burns to San Jose for Setaguchi, Coyle, and a first way back in the day. He mentioned L.A., St. Louis, and Anaheim as teams that are pretty good fits. Chikrin has 3 more years left after this season at $4.6 million. This is a guy that a lot of teams seem to be horny for, Biz.
Yes, and so Bill Armstrong, I think he's done an unbelievable job at doing what needed to be done to this point for this team, right? And but this summer, I being as close with the organization as possible, I kind of look at the roster and I kind of do these fake things of what I would do as if I was in control. And moving Jacob Chikrin probably in the summertime would have been something I would have looked to have done. And I love him as a player. He's an unbelievable guy. The guys like him in the locker room. He's dealt with injuries and has battled his way back every time with a massive amount of commitment to his body and how much he cares about the growth of his game, right? A component being that the injuries would play a factor into my decision. He's went through 4 major surgeries. I think he's had wrist, 2 knees, and a shoulder his draft year. And he's coming off this year where he has 18 goals for the organization, despite how maybe not so good the team is. So right now, based off of what they'd signed him for, I think he would have had 3 years. You said he has 2 years after this year, correct? Left on his deal.
Chikrin, 3 more years after this deal.
Wow.
At 4.6.
So you're getting an exceptional defenseman at a really good value, and you still have term on his deal. That is a massive, massive asset that you could trade in a period of time when he was able to do that with the way that the roster was last year. You also had Oliver Ekman-Larsson here, which, despite how people want to talk about maybe his decline as a player, when you have another guy there to take the focus off you, I think it helps you as another D. Whit, is that a fair comment?
I mean, a guy that's going to still play a lot of minutes, it certainly makes it a little easier on you. He's minus 29 this year. I think he's a good player, and the team's really struggled, but
right.
It hasn't been as easy.
Correct. And in Chikrin's case now, it's all of a sudden the team is obviously in a position where you're looking to lose every single night. You want to. That's where you just come off this big, massive year, and you're like, well, I kind of am feeling this offensive game, and I want to play with the puck, and I want to. I mean, you look over at Colorado, you're like, fuck, would it be nice to be a defenseman on that team in the mix with that offense, especially with what I did here with maybe the talent that's surrounded by me and having 18 goals. So I think you've lost on what you just said. Now, the fact that he's minus 29, he's played nowhere near to the level he played last year. I think that he can get back there. It's just you're in a bit of a rut, and you're playing on a team where if you're not playing with that top line who plays with the pucks most nights, you're on a team where you're going to be playing in your end every night, and then you're going to be fucking getting the green jacket. And all of a sudden, if you find yourself on a team like that for 2-3 years in that situation, instead of going on the uptrend like he had last year, you're now being forgot about, and you're lucky to maybe even get your next contract at the term that you want. So I can completely understand the fact that he's probably wanting out now. I was, I guess, just surprised why, knowing with the position that the team's going to be in, why it didn't happen in the summertime. I would have looked to have shopped at them, and maybe the return wasn't there, but apparently now they're looking for what was the term being used online, RA? An Eichel type return?
King's ransom?
No, bro. Oh.
No, that was the fucking Gretzky trade, wasn't it?
I think they call any big haul a King's ransom.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was also the title of the 30-30, so you were right. 30 for 30, so you were right.
Oh, okay. So, I just don't. I don't think you're saying anywhere near the return you would have saw in the summertime for him now, given with what the numbers are at, where he's at as a player. I've told you everything I know I like about him as a player, and I think that he adds very good value to any team. I thought a good trade would be for Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg, they did make those moves in the offseason. Who'd they pick up? They got Schmidt, and they also got Dylan.
Dillian Schmitty, yeah.
I still think that maybe one more there couldn't hurt. And I think that Winnipeg's in a very win-now state. Yeah, and they're so heavy up top. It's like, okay, well, they're, I don't know. But from any other perspective, what do you think about the fact that he's asking out from him?
I think it just makes sense, and what they could get back from because of the term is going to be the biggest thing. Arizona can get a big ass haul for this guy. I don't know where he'd go. I know the Bruins could use a left shot defenseman making that money for the next 3 years. So there's going to be a ton of teams that want him, like Merrick said. I don't know where he'll end up. Yep.
Well, wait and see and keep you posted. Biz, you talked about earlier, Trevor Zegras trying his trick once again. You talked about wafting the puck from behind the net. You raised the possibility, is this a defensive viability issue? And I don't know, man. I think if you're dropping it right in front of the crease, I don't think it's a pizza. It might be not even a slice of pizza. It's just a little. Why not? I mean, you just.
I think what's happening is he's acquiring some haters. Some people are barking. They're calling it a fancy turnover, and he's a TikTok NHLer. I mean, it's kind of funny. No?
Well, he's willing to try anything. Now, that play was kind of brutal. So all I'll say is he did it once. It was incredible. That one, they just looked like there was no chance, right? Like, to flick it up that softly, it has to be kind of bang, bang, like the way it was with Milano. To just kind of throw it up there slowly, 9 out of 10 times, maybe even more, it's going to get swatted away by somebody. And then if fans get mad that he did it one other time and it didn't work, at some point, if he were to continue to do it and each time it just gets smacked into the corner or they lose possession, the coach will be like, hey, enough with the Zegras.
What if it becomes his yip, where all he does is just start flicking it into the front of the net?
Chuck Knobloch couldn't throw it to first. He can't not flip it over the back of the net.
Yeah.
Gretzky's office overhead.
He starts hitting the net, and then it looks even worse, and then he really just – it's like a golfer with the yips.
But talking about the Ducks, Biz, you mentioned Troy Terry. He's got 21 goals already, on pace for roughly 47. And we were saying, what's he doing different this year? Is it his confidence? Is it maturity, a combination? What's your take on that, Biz?
I will say when he first stepped in, he looked fragile. He looked very skinny and maybe not in as control of his body. But other than that, I mean, he's riding a wave right now. He looks like he's so fucking silky offensively, and he's just like a natural hockey player. I don't really have any other strong opinions about his play, Whit, other than he's just finding a fucking way to get it done every night.
Yeah, I haven't seen Anaheim play enough to really judge how he's been doing it, but he just keeps getting it done. So when you talk about fragile, that's definitely true. And he wasn't a high pick, right? He's a 5th rounder, I think. So it's going to take him time for the most part, and then maybe he's gotten a lot stronger in the past year or two. I don't know. I'd love to interview him and ask him, because when you see a breakout year like this and the stats are making that big of a jump, it's like, what changed? And maybe he'll say, I don't know. I just kind of maybe change my off-season workout. All of a sudden, I was just naturally stronger. I felt more confident, and then all of that explodes the stats when you have confidence. So we got to talk to him to find out the real answer, but he's taken off.
That's
he's looking good.
It's interesting about that he was a 5th rounder, and I wonder if that's why maybe he gets a little bit more time of a pass. But I think that the reason everyone had such high expectations is even though he was a 5th rounder, he came on the scene at World Juniors, didn't he?
Yes.
Was he like the star of their team that year?
I don't remember if he was like the best player on that team.
5-hole Terry.
I do remember
5-hole Terry. He had the shootout where he won the shootout.
Yeah, I just remember the shootout. He was like Oshie in the World Juniors, basically.
Okay, so that's when he came on the scene for the first time.
Yes.
Okay. Huh, interesting.
Well, he's been looking good, and you can look good too with a little Peter Millar. Hey, gang, let's talk about your button-down game. Still wearing the same stiff shirts that wrinkle every time you look at them? Well, we're here to tell you there's another option courtesy of our friends over at Peter Millar. Peter Millar makes performance sport shirts that are designed to be super breathable and move with you so that you can stay comfortable and stylish no matter what the day takes you. These shirts feature all of the performance technology you would expect from Peter Millar, like 4-way stretch, moisture wicking, and easy care fabrication. They're available in both classic and tailored fits, as well as a variety of patterns and colors. So whether you're heading into the office or sitting center ice, you can do it in style with Peter Millar Performance Sport Shirts. Be sure to visit petermillar.com/chiclets for free shipping and a complimentary gift with your order. You boys are always rocking the Peter Millar. Not so much me. I'm not the golf guy you guys are, but you can't say enough good things about it, Whit.
The best gear going. I love. It's all I wear. It's all I wear. The shorts, the pants. We get the golf shirts and then the quarter zips. It's so comfortable. I cannot recommend enough Peter Millar. An awesome brand.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, we got a few more hockey notes for you here. Pal Jeremy Yablonski, he returned to the East Coast Hockey League after a 6-year retirement. He signed with the Idaho Steelheads on December 31st of last year. Something come over the wire. It said he was suspended by the team. He was removed from the roster. I was like, oh, shit, what happened? But per ECHL week, that was done in order to protect playing rights, I guess. I don't know the particulars of East Coast playing rights, but I guess they had to suspend him to keep his rights for whatever reason. I don't know that he's played yet, but either way, 6 years, that's a long time, Biz, to jump back on the coast.
Imagine seeing the fucking game notes before that one if you're across the hallway. You're their team fighter. I would imagine he saw that jousting match and just got the itch to come back and fucking patrol
Maybe
the red
that
line.
was it.
Yeah.
Maybe he was like, I want to go get that
I think
guy
the
that went over.
ECHL is the next biggest thing in hockey. Going back to you just talked about how Tanner Jeannot, and we jumped in on that ECHL player relief fund. I played in the coast, guys. Next thing you know, you got a diamond in the rough. I think Bunting spent some time in the coast. Sometimes you get these players who become very, very relevant players for your team where they were able to develop at that level when they couldn't have stuck around the AHL. So it is a fun fucking league. There is some tomfoolery that happens on a nonstop basis. So we're going to be more, and that's why we're doing that Jungle Series. Me and Grinelli are diving into it. We're going to Orlando with the Polar Bears. We're going back to my old stomping grounds.
Solar.
Oh, it's the Solar Bears?
Solar Bears, baby.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, threw a curveball at me. I sound like a donkey now. Sorry about that, Solar Bears. But the only team that matters on the list is the Wheeling Nailers, and then, of course, the Atlanta Gladiators for my boy Nesbitt's 1,000th game celebration.
Another crazy note, Trevor Daley won a Stanley Cup a few years back. He actually came out of retirement for a game or two. He briefly joined the Florida Everblades. They were having the COVID issue, so he kept his front office position, but he basically came out of retirement to play a game or two in the coast. They were short on bodies, and he jumped in there. It wasn't some sort of elaborate thing to talk about him or whatever. He just jumped in. They needed guys to jump in. So kudos to Trevor, man.
When you
And
skate
that
like
makes him the smoothest skater
Yeah.
this year in the East Coast Hockey League.
There you go. I was just going to say.
There you go.
Wait, can I jump in real quick? I don't know if you guys saw, but the Worcester Railers tweeted at Witt this weekend saying that they would love to get him to come play a game for them, ECHL team, obviously. Witt,
I saw that.
how much would it cost for you to suit up for one ECHL game?
$1 million.
Yeah, $1 million I'd do it.
And then if he agreed to play, they said they would have me in the broadcast.
Wait, what
booth
if they
as well.
gave you? What if they did like Mario and you became the Mario, where they gave you ownership in the team, and then we created this wagon team out of the Worcester team, and it was this dynasty, and you got in at the right time because they can't actually afford to pay you $1 million to step on the ice, even though you're a
Worcester Country
liability
Club,
defensively.
too. I would do that. Make me owner. I'm in.
Trade me right fucking down.
Hey, we should get Renee Raincourt out of retirement to sing your first game. He's singing the anthem.
No, he charged too much.
Well, we'll give him
You
part
can afford it.
ownership.
You're the owner.
Yeah, exactly. Give him a couple.
Yeah, no. Then I gotta immediately start watching my spending as I'm an owner.
You know how
I'll
we're
be calling Jacobs up to play croquet with him in Buffalo.
Who? Jeremy Jacobs?
Yeah,
No.
the old guy. He's up there in Buffalo.
Hey,
you know?
Whit, I know
I'm an owner.
I know how we can make more money at concessions. We can have the boys fart in jars and sell them because that's turned into an industry online. I don't know if you guys.
So like disgusting and deranged. Like I'm gonna sit this one out. I don't even get who was ordering those.
Some reality
What the
show
hell?
gal. I don't know who it is, but
Explain
reality
the
show gal.
backstory. Explain the backstory.
I don't even know what reality show she was on. Apparently,
I do. Sorry.
She was
I
selling
do.
her
90 Day Fiance.
Oh, it was a good
Great
show?
She had
check
to,
it out.
She had to retire from selling her jar farts after a heart attack scare. What? Wait, what? How do you have a heart attack?
So
scare
no,
from
so
farting too much?
so obviously a lot of people during the pandemic they're cooped up in their house, and I feel like the internet has just become a wackier and wackier place
farts.
on like acceleration mode, to where NFTs, and all of a sudden this girl found a market where she'd made, I think it was listed as £200,000 or $200,000 whatever, farting in jars, jarring them up, and then selling them to her fans who were willing to buy these, who were, I'm assuming, finding out about these on her OnlyFans page. So I don't know.
If you bought one of those, that's pre-crime. That's like get to his house with a SWAT team, knock down the door, put him or her in handcuffs, and drag him off to prison.
All right. He's like,
Yeah, I mean, you guys can goof on me at the wick a lot of fat and
He's
all
like,
that. It's the only
We
farts
see
I
the SWAT team bust into his apartment right now to get him.
like Silence of the Lambs crashing.
We
through the
teed it
window.
all
He's
up.
like-
It was
he's like, if you
No.
try the egg ones, they're not that bad actually. You get a bit of a rose potpourri smell.
I mean, the only farts you want to smell your own, and they are kind of pleasant if they're your own, but you don't want to smell other people's farts. Right? Come on, you don't smell your own farts, Biz?
Oh,
Come on.
I don't mind it. I take pride in it.
But would you pay for like a celebrity fart in a jar?
Well, I was gonna say, who do you?
I'm off the pot if he says yes.
Oh, absolutely. Okay,
I mean-
what would be okay if you had to get a shipment of a jarred fart from any celebrity, but you had to, or death was the other option. Who would you pick, Whit?
Rachel
And then-
McAdams. Oh, wait, did I
Oh,
say that?
Jesus Christ!
I wasn't thinking about it at all.
Jesus Christ, all right.
By this shit.
RA's been
Hey, I
scanning.
mean, gun to head, dude. If someone's gonna die, I mean, fuck, man.
Okay,
you know?
Rachel McAdams. Who's fart in a jar? Who do you think would sell for the most on the podcast?
Well, do you want to bang for your buck? Then probably me. I mean,
If you're smart, all you're doing is spraying in a little of that, or maybe dropping a stink bomb in
No,
there, right?
no.
Then get the
We would
shell
provide
out.
an NFT of the video watching
this-
you fart, and we're
Yeah,
we're,
you gotta
we're a
open up
legit
the corner.
operation.
There's
Rachel
an actual.
showing the
We're
fart.
gonna give actual air biscuits here. Wait, no, I'm not gonna put stink bombs in there.
But
Why,
who-
so Biz, what celebrity's fart would you want? Give me that big dude's fart from Lost, that fucking monster of a human. Remember
Hurley?
that guy, just to see how bad it would be?
Okay.
Margot Robbie.
I would probably say Margot Robbie is a great answer.
See, I don't want a girl's. Girls don't fart or poop, so I don't want a girl's fart. And they don't.
You
go.
don't even want to envision it. I would probably say, based on if you don't have to open it up and smell it yourself, I'd probably say The Rock's, just for resale value.
Can you smell?
Can you smell? That is, I wasn't even thinking of that already. That is genius. But
You know, Yan says he's never once and never will fart in front of his
yeah,
wife.
no, I know. That's a weird
Oh.
thing about Jan's folks. He's actually his like. I leave the door open when I shit. Like, I don't care. I don't even care if my lady does too. Like, I don't care. I don't care. She closes the door, but like, I could care less. I'm like, I know she's shitting. I'm all good. Like, I don't get creeped
Girls
out.
who get hit with Dutch ovens by their husbands and boyfriends, though, like
I'm
you
not hitting
must
her with
just wanna
Dutch
kill
ovens.
us.
I'm not like
I-
I'm not leaning over and farting in Katie's
No,
face.
no,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, like in the morning or at night, like you're in bed, like boom, and all of a sudden they're reading and poof,
oh, I paid $13 for that though, so it's not bad.
I think when you're dating someone, well, a girl, you got to do it within the first, like, once you're comfortable with them in the first 5 or 6 months. Because you can't if you don't fart in front of them within the first 5-6 months, then you're holding them for God knows how long.
Your
and you just
and
let
then
it
your
rip.
stomach's getting sore on these fucking car rides and shit.
And if
My
they're
stomach is
disgusted,
sore.
then they run. Then it wasn't meant to be. Because like you can't hold ass. You gotta bust ass. And if it's like, all right, the guys, like, we giggle over farts. We're idiots about farts. Girls don't fart in front of each other.
I will say
we do.
I am a bit of a hypocrite. Like, I don't like it when my old lady farts. Like, I don't.
No, mine hasn't, and she never will.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Although,
like, if there's a squeaker,
childbirth changes the game on that one when you're up there in the mix.
that's what I mean. Like, you guys are seeing poop flying around. Like, who cares about a fart, right? That's kind of a game changer.
No, my wife can fart whenever she wants. It's okay. you gotta be honest in a relationship, but she doesn't. So just want to make that.
So I don't know. I don't know why people are buying other people's farts, but I do know that I think that RA, you definitely bang for your buck would have the biggest selling fart.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot. Speaking of causing a little wind as you go by somebody, Biz, how about Pat Brisson's kid, Brendan Brisson, Michigan goal, scores. He does this little birdie dance going by the
What's the dance called, Grinelli? All the kids are doing it.
I don't know.
Oh, the gritty, I think.
The gritty, that's what it's called.
Schefter tore his ACL doing it on the field before an NFL broadcast.
He tore something, yeah. I don't know if that's what Brisson's kid was doing in this goal line thingamajig, but either way, if this was in the NHL, there'd be many coronaries among the Torts crew of guys dancing as they do a drive-by.
They're the Fab Four in college hockey. It's national championship or bust. They could beat the Sabres. We know they could beat the Habs. They could probably
They're not even beating college teams, aren't they? Like,
no, they're like
ranked?
number 6 in the country right now. They've lost a few games.
With all those guys? And
they're going to lose a bunch of them.
And they're fucking dancing like that?
To the Olympics. I know, man. I'm telling you. I don't know about this team. I think that, like, they're not the favorite to win the national title.
All right.
Gee,
they're still my favorite.
Guy.
They're definitely still my favorite. But you mentioned Brendan Brisson, and that's Matt Murley been writing tons of blogs for us on BarstoolSports.com. He's killing it. But he has Brendan Brisson on his EBR Team USA going to the Olympics.
And so
I know Power's on it.
Power got asked.
Yeah, and Jake Sanderson, too, just broke off the wire a little while ago. Jake Sanderson, North Dakota product. He was invited to join the squad as well down here in the States. Let's see, a couple other notes here before we move along. The Hockey Diversity Alliance teamed up with Budweiser Canada, Biz, your business partner, to hashtag Tape Out Hate. They came up with a roll of tape to tape out hate, and they dropped the video message in cohesion with Bud Canada. And it was actually pretty descriptive about the type of bullshit that these players have to read in the DMs and online, and we're not going to repeat them here, but it's the type of language that nobody should have to read, let alone when they're doing their social media, let alone when they're professional athletes. But I think it was important for these guys to do it and say, hey, look, we're at the cream of the crop, we're the best players in the world, and we have to deal with this bullshit. So what do guys who aren't at this level have to deal with? And we've beat this drum before, and we'll continue to beat it, but there's no place for the league in this bullshit. It's fucking 2022. It sucks we even have to continue to talk about it, and this isn't stuff we deal with. We're white guys who don't have to deal with this stuff. So I think it was a very important message that the HDA come out with and said, this is the type of shit we read and have to still deal with. We've been in the league for 10, 12, 15 years, and we still hear it. And again, just cut the shit, man. Whoever does this stuff, whoever types this stuff, you're a fucking moron and an idiot, and just cut the shit.
Yeah, guys, we just preach inclusivity here, and that's like we're going to do it. So when videos and things like this happen, we're going to mention them on the podcast. So great job by Budweiser to do the video, and very well said, RA.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. There was actually a pretty funny clip to switch gears a little bit. Of course, when the Blues showed up at the Winter Classic, we talked about them showing up in their beach gear. Well, they started a trend. All these youth teams showing up with coolers and sunglasses and towels. Just pretty cool how, like these guys are repeating. But I don't know if you guys saw this tweet, and I'm not going to put the guy's handle on. I don't want him to get bad hate mail, whatever. But there was a clip of Thomas Chabot. He come on the ice to skate around. It was his first game back in a while. The Zamboni was still on the ice. It was just about to leave. And he come out to get in a couple quick shots. And some dork was like, Thomas Chabot is setting a bad example for the kids. He should wait until the Zamboni is off the ice before he's out there. And this guy got ratioed to the moon. And again, I don't want to make it worse for the guy. And this guy fought like till the end. He's like, this is bad. Like, kids are going to see this and do it. It's like, dude, this guy plays in the NHL. The Zamboni's going off the ice. Like, nobody's going to get hurt. Like, he's not going to break the Zamboni. It was just like, come on, dude.
I agree.
Wait. The Zamboni driver came out and said that?
No, not the guy who was driving the Zamboni. Some random guy who drove a Zamboni in his spare time, like, was commented like that.
On
he
Twitter?
was saying on Twitter, saying Thomas Chabot was setting a bad example.
Guys,
blog on Twitter.
But what's hilarious is the guy.
I kind of agree with him. I agree with him because I think that Zamboni should have their time to shine. And Chabot's out there 30 minutes a game. Maybe just let the fucking Zamboni guy have his little exit all the way to the finish. And maybe that guy, being a Zamboni driver, knows what the other guy is going through and just felt that he could stick up for his. It's kind of like when the anthem singer for the Nashville Predators was pissed when Carrie Underwood took over. And
their spot.
Do you remember when that happened?
Yeah, he got all pissy, but
not going with the people that got you there.
Yeah, dancing with the girl that got you there. But
but that's ridiculous. Sorry.
But what's funny is the guy who actually was on the Zamboni, he replied on Twitter, he's like, I had no problem with it. Like, in other words, this one guy was like dying on this stupid hill about setting a bad example. It's like, dude, he's a professional player. He's not going to get run over or fuck up the Zamboni, but just,
that guy's like, fuck, never meet your heroes online.
Biz, this is another one of your doozies here. Of course, we were just in Minnesota. Dean Everson, coach of the Minnesota Wild, and Creed, we talked about the lookalikes. Well, we got some great replies. We tweeted about it on our Twitter account, and some of the replies we got from players who look like celebrities, and sometimes you might not look, they might not look 100% like them, but there's certain pictures where they line up like the Artemi Panarin and the Jack Harlow with the hair.
Oh,
it was like
man.
stunt doubles. But Biz, I know some of them like jumped out at you too.
Scheifele and Robin Thicke was pretty good. Andy Sandberg and Sid, that's always a classic to go back to, especially when Sid was younger and he wasn't as filled out. What are some other really funny
Matt
ones?
Martin and Brad Pitt was a good one.
That was
they looked a lot alike.
But somebody also put him next to one of the Hainsworth brothers, Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, he does look like him.
Shit.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's not too bad, guys.
Luongo and
My
Borat.
goodness, those guys are rocket launchers.
Let's see. Ray Oates. Yeah, Ray Oates. Adam Oates and Ray Liotta.
That was an unreal one. That was one I did not expect. That is bang on, especially in Ray Liotta. Kind of tailed off a little bit now, right? He's a little bit haggard looking, but
he doesn't look great
70 years old.
with age.
Oh, is he that old?
He's up there. Yeah.
Well, he looks like he's been hacking 2 packs of butts a day, and fucking.
I think he looks like he has a lot of work done to his face, kind of.
Oh, kind of went Mickey Rourke on him.
Do you know what I'm saying, all right, or no?
I do know what you're saying. I don't know.
Look the Ray Liotta in Goodfellas. Like, it doesn't look like that person anymore. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, but that was also. I mean, Goodfellas 32 years ago. We all age. I know you're saying he doesn't look.
No, I know.
Let's see. He's 40. He's 67 years old. So, but
maybe he could just start using a little bit more athletic greens and turn things around.
Wolf and whiskey.
Merles and Kyle Dubas was a good one as well.
Oh my goodness, that was a good one. So any of you fans out there, we're interested. Maybe throw this on Instagram and Twitter, and let's get some engagement popping about find the hidden gems in the league of the lookalikes. Who are the best celebrity lookalikes in the NHL? Somebody put Cody Eakin and Joe Dirt, but I think with the Brian Campbell and Carrot Top was fucking good. I was dying at that.
Is this on our
No, there's a bunch of them floating around the internet. These are all ones that have already been thought of. These aren't exactly off the top of my dome. Any ones that you can think of, R.A.?
This is someone else who included Steve Ott and Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball, Alan Tudyk. I mean, they look alike anyways. And then I included my own that I mentioned more than once on the show. Pavel Bure and Rocco Siffredi, the Italian porn star. I mean, those guys are doppelgangers, basically.
Yeah, but not many people know an Italian porn star.
Well, from the VHS golden era. I mean, learn your history, kids. Uncut too, Biz.
One that I can agree with in the sense of maybe the facial structure, but some people might say no way, was Sylvester Stallone and Evgeny Malkin.
Back tomorrow too.
Oh my goodness.
Or tonight, I guess.
All right. Well, I don't have much else to say, boys. I've been talking a lot.
No, we got a lot. We got to give props to our buddy Frank the Tank as well. He was at, I think it was it, I don't even know if it was an AHL game or an East Coast game. I forget who was playing, but he did the blue line shot and the half court shot, and he hit them both. And he was trending on Twitter. I was surprised that #WhitMissed wasn't trending as well, given the way things went in Chicago.
Maybe it's easier than we think, all right? It's just, I don't know.
Yeah,
but maybe not, because a former NHL superstar couldn't even fucking sink it. Well.
And one last
Thanks for
Barstool
calling me a superstar.
One last Barstool note, too. Kudos to everybody who got the new River North bar in Chicago up and running. It looks fantastic. We don't know when we're going to get back out in Chicago because that fucking team hasn't gotten the playoffs lately, but we absolutely can't wait to check this place out. Looks fantastic. If you are in Chicago, by all means, check it out. All right, we had a lot of talk. We had a lot of fun and some good laughs in the show, but unfortunately, I'm sure most of our audience heard about this awful, horrific story that happened since we last met. Teddy Balkind, he was a hockey player for St. Luke's School in New Canaan, Connecticut. He was playing a JV game the other day, and apparently there was an unavoidable collision that resulted in a neck wound, and he was rushed to the hospital where he later succumbed to his injuries. Just a terrible story. Something we were horrified to hear about. We're still crushed. It's tough to talk about, as you can probably hear in my voice. We just want to send our deepest thoughts, condolences to his family, friends, teammates, anybody who knew this kid. By all accounts, he was a beautiful, wonderful kid. Everybody liked him. And sometimes we come up with a loss for words because there's just some things happen in the game of hockey and in life that there are no words that provide any solace.
Yeah, I mean, I would never take anything away from somebody hearing about a loss like this who didn't have a child. I really wouldn't, but I've had a lot of tough times just thinking about this, and it's one thing to hear that story, and then you see the picture of the kid. He's just a beautiful kid, and so I never heard of a tragedy like that. I know we've had players pass away, heart issues in games, but something from the actual game of hockey, it's a loss for words and a true tragedy. So I send my love and prayers to that family, because that's just a terrible thing. I'm so sorry for them, and I'm so sorry for everyone that was a part of that game, because
that's a very traumatic experience, especially for his father was in attendance, and just like I don't have children. I couldn't imagine what that experience would have to be like, having to witness that. And on top of all of it, it's just this is brutal.
So for people who, and listen, we talked about starting the show off with this, but I mean, right now I could never do a show after talking about this, so we left it till the end, because this is dedicated to him and his family, and that's when tragedy strikes and things like this happen. And we went through this with the bus crash a few years ago, and I think that's why the hockey world is this amazing place, because you come together, and you saw sticks out for Teddy, and so we'll be thinking his family right now, no doubt. It's a tough way to end the show. Thank you so much for listening, but we had to send our prayers his family's way.
We also, I think, send extra prayers, and hopefully everybody, for the other player who was involved with the incident. He's probably going to need some extra help and extra hugs and care too, so everybody hopefully can help him out as well. So that's going to wrap up our show, everybody. Again, it's a tough way to end, but it's an important thing to get out there and just be good and take care of each other. And we love you guys, and we'll talk to you later.